to a three-sided shape is a triangle. So what we're getting at here is in a in a quantitative way, a three-sided shape is the same as a triangle. What's true of one is true of the other. So it can, in a quantitative sense, become a useless tautology, but that's not what we're expressing here. Like an unmarried bachelor is I mean a bachelor is an unmarried male. What you say of one is true of the other, and it just makes it useless tautology definitionally. This is not what we're doing. When we're talking about God, we're giving additional information about who God is. We're saying that God has revealed himself in a certain qualitative fashion, and that we identify what is good by what God has revealed. So um there's no tautology, there's no problem, because we're given additional information about God's character and who he is. We're not saying that God is
Yeah,
quantitatively good. We're saying God is qualitatively good. So there's no internal issue there. This
I
is
do
a
have a slightly
very
different position than that. But I do think that that is good for people who I would just say I would reword it probably a little bit different, of course, because I am leaning more and more as I read more material about it to divine simplicity. But I do think that that's definitely good to get an understanding of the issue. Of
it,
course, I
it's
wouldn't
just
hold to it
that it's
entirely,
just
but yeah.
that when people and here's the thing, Brendan is not a dumb person, so I think he's done a little bit of reading about this. I think if you don't hash it out carefully, they could try to get you to like a modal trap or a modal collapse.
Yeah, but they say that contingent facts are necessary, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see how that's the case. I have seen that argument before. I have to look back at the rebuttals against that, but I do have a little bit of familiarity with that argument. I have to again do more research on it, but yeah. Yeah, but anyways, let's see here. I know somebody raised their hand. I don't think they're here anymore. Do you guys see their hand raised? Because I had left and joined
I
back.
didn't
It
see
might have
who
been.
raised their hand at all.
Okay, here we go. I see Dave and JS. So Dave, I'm gonna give you a chance here to come up here. You're the one that was over talking and being obstruction or obstructive. If that's how you're gonna be now, then we're not gonna continue. I'm just gonna move you back down to the audience. So, Dave, are you an atheist?
Well, you said, I just want to address something before we get to that, which is just that you said that you were committed to speaking the truth, but I know for a fact that Brandon is not her real name. So I don't understand what you're saying.
Okay,
It
we're
sounds like
not
you're
going to
just,
go back to
That's
it
not
that.
sounds
that's
We're
like you're
not.
not
We're
uttering
not
a
going to go
that's not
back
the
to
falsehood.
issue.
that.
Dave, that's not the
You're just
issue and you
uttering
know
a,
it.
well, you're just uttering a falsehood.
That's
We're
not the
Are
not
you
issue
going
and
to
that's
not?
not
go
the
back
issue and
to
that's not
that.
the issue and you know it, Dave.
Well, are you uttering
Dave,
a
are you an
falsehood or
atheist?
not?
Dave,
Are
are
you
you
uttering a
are you an
falsehood or not?
atheist? Dave,
Stop
Dave.
avoiding,
Wow, you
stop
really think you're in control of
evading,
this conversation, don't you?
stop evading.
Wow. He really thinks he's in control of the conversation. He really thinks he's in control of the issue. I hate when these atheists. I'm just going to put it out there. I hate when these atheists think that they have these little gotcha questions, these little gotcha points, and then when we try to address
I
them,
mean,
then they get all out of control. They fly off the handle. This is exactly what Dave did. He doesn't have any self
the
control,
thing is,
as you
it
can see.
wasn't. Here's the thing, though. It wasn't even a gotcha point. He was just engaging a bunch of bluster and just nonsense.
Yeah,
He was just
it was
engaging
nonsense.
in rhetoric. He wasn't trying to have a real conversation.
I like that.
Yeah.
It'd be a waste of
But that,
ways. Any because I've heard people ask that question before, and like because I've heard people ask that question before, and like the atheists never have an answer to that.
Yeah.
It's like how many concepts does it make to, or how many molecules does it take to make a concept? They can't answer that question. You're not welcome here. Put your hand down. because I've heard people ask that question before, and like the atheists never have an answer to that.
Yeah.
It's like, how many concepts does it make to, or how many molecules does it take to make a concept? They can't answer that question. You're not welcome here. Put your hand down. Because I've heard people ask that question. Because I've heard people.
all of the stuff that I found.
Different lens, what we say is certain cards matching versus not matching, having matching pairs or sequences, are more probable than not. Well, that's a different way of looking at it. Okay? So, for example, another analogy we could give is suppose we had several thousand Scrabble letters. In a hopper, and they were dispensed sequentially. And one of them spells out the Declaration of Independence, and the other, it's just a random series of letters that there's no functional information in there. But they both have the same amount of Scrabble letters. Which one of those sequences is more probable? Well, it depends upon what perspective you're looking at it from. The answer is they both have the same probability.
Yeah.
Okay? But from another perspective, we can say that the probability that random generation of Scrabble letters will produce non-functional information is much higher than it producing functional information.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so it depends upon the way that you're asking about probabilistic outcome. So the bottom line is that, getting back to belief in God, God, definitionally, whether they like it or not, is going to be the absolute from which any continuity and discontinuity is. But whatever their rationale for not believing it, does that mean that they've now, in their own self-consciousness, has abandoned belief that there is an absolute? No, they haven't. Because if they had abandoned all belief whatsoever at any conscious level that there's something absolute, then there would be no reason to believe that the continuity that they believe exists is real. It would just simply be an illusion of spontaneous occurrences.
Or determined, I suppose. But
No,
that's
no. If nothing is absolute, then nothing is determined. So,
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
so at a conscious level, and I've had people saying, I don't believe anything is absolute. And I'm just saying, well, that's a stupid response. And it usually is because you haven't thought seriously about this issue. Because if you truly believe that there's nothing that's absolute, then you have no grounds to speak and you have no grounds to reason intelligibly about anything. Because in order to intelligibly speak or predicate, certain things have to remain unchanging while other things do change. Okay? Now, if
Yeah.
certain things don't change, that not changing has to be imposed. Because if it's not imposed, then it's simply a pure illusion of unchangingness. Okay? So, for
Well, that's like,
example, listen, have you ever seen a YouTube video gag where they use identical twins? You'll even see magic tricks
yeah.
where they'll have an identical twin in a certain location, right? And one video, the person says, "Listen, I'm going to walk around the building. I'm going to see how many feet the perimeter is, and I should be back in a minute." When the person walks around the corner of this large building to walk around it, immediately they have the identical twin walk around like 2 seconds later, to the amazement of the person who's viewing, because he's not thinking that this is an identical twin. He thinks that this person that he sees has possessed identity over time. This is the same person that he saw leaving.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the continuity that he thinks is there, that this is the same person, is an illusion.
Yeah.
So when he thinks that's the same person, this is not real. It's illusory. The same thing is true with continuity. Unless something is imposing, instantiating, and sustaining continuity, then the continuity is an illusion. It becomes meaningless.
And one of your things that you're saying is that whatever thing that is imposing and securing the continuity, it must be conscious?
No, I'm saying is it will be reckoned to be the absolute from which the realness of continuity continues. That doesn't mean that whatever continuity we believe in will continue to have continuity in perpetuity, right? Like, for example, when you light a candle, you're going to have a certain continuity of it staying lit. And at a certain point, the continuity stops. But while it stays lit, what is imposing that continuity? Or is it in each moment you look at it that it's staying lit, it's a different candle. You say, well, why would it be a different candle? You say, well, yeah, we're going down to the very fundamentals of what you believe. The very fundamentals of what we believe is identity, that things possess identity and there's identity over time. Okay, what makes that real? And so you see, when we're dealing with certain people on the internet, they don't even want to contemplate what their most fundamental beliefs are that they think is subversive to even discuss. What do you mean it's going to be negotiable or debatable that there's continuity of time? They think it's insane to even raise that question. But the question, it's not insane to bring it up from a theoretical standpoint. So when they claim they don't believe in God as the absolute, and then they claim that they don't believe in any absolute at all, then they have no reason to believe in anything.
See, I follow what you're saying at the end there. having no absolute I see how it leads to there being no way to ground anything. I agree with what you're saying there. Yeah.
So the totality of things that we come into contact with indicate to us something's absolute.
Yeah.
Okay, now the point is, you're going to have to momentarily contemplate at some point early on in life that the absolute, you may not think of it in that term, that nomenclature, but you're going to have to contemplate that the absolute is a mind, and that everything that encompasses you is the product of and sustained by this absolute, which is a mind. Otherwise, if you dismiss that, then the absolute will be not a mind, it'll be impersonal. But you can't escape believing in an absolute, in spite of the fact that some idiots on the internet saying, I don't believe anything is absolute. Then there's no point in you saying I believe, because nothing's absolute. And so the word I wouldn't mean anything, and believe wouldn't mean anything, because there's nothing absolute. So when the Bible says that God has made us to know that he exists, everything that exists is indicative of something that is absolute, and it would be eternal. Because if the absolute were simply to pop into existence, right, for no rhyme or reason at all, right, then
Yeah.
there's no rhyme or reason to believe that it will persist in perpetuity.
Yeah.
Okay? And so the very fact of all the things that exist indicate the eternal, the absolute.
And this is why earlier I brought up that nothing is a concept of, incoherent. Nothing is a thing that can't exist because
You can't
some absolute
instantiate
thing.
no thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
We're
so,
agreeing there.
right. And so now the person has to realize, if they deny that they believe that anything is absolute or eternal, they're just going to plunge themselves into the deeper abyss of incoherence and absurdity. So they're going to have to acknowledge, for sanity's sake, that in order to believe in an intelligible world around them, that something is imposing the continuity of existence, and whatever that is going to have to be something that is absolute and eternal in and of itself. And if it is, you immediately have to recognize that it's either a mind or not a mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Eh?
agreeing with all of
Now,
that.
if it's not a mind, and that my conscious awareness of the world around me, the continuity and discontinuity around me, is not the product of a mind, where that mind has granted me to be like it, then whatever is absolute that is not a mind, that results in everything else, including my mind, therefore it would destroy the very capacity of me to be able to reason. There would be no reasoning at all.
Oh, you've lost me there.
Okay, so in other words, you wouldn't be able to freely evaluate certain options. Okay, in other words, the way you think was completely dictated. You couldn't evaluate whether one belief was more probable or not, or which one was correct. Okay, so let me give you an analogy. You get appendicitis, you go to the hospital, doctor says, okay, I got some good news and bad news. You have a rare case of appendicitis that is so bad that you're probably going to die from it. But we have a new experimental antibiotic that it will cure it. It's about to come on the market, but it has a nasty side effect. For the next 24 hours, you're going to think that everyone's trying to kill you, and we're going to have to strap you down with leather straps. The average person, so what? Strap me down. I don't care if I'm paranoid for a day. I'll get over it, right? But then the next day comes and you're convinced they're trying to kill you. Okay?
Yeah.
Was that a product of reason?
No.
No, it wouldn't be no reason. You couldn't have thought
Well,
other. It
you've used
wouldn't be reason.
reason in two different ways there.
No. What I'm saying is, look, do animals reason? No, they
In a
don't.
way.
No, they don't. They give off the illusion of reason, Some animals may behave in seemingly clever ways. Like, for example, certain crows have been known to place rocks to drop it in something so that the water level goes up and they can get the food. But that's all a part of their neural programming in their genes. This would be no different than artificial intelligence that we put into an autonomous car.
What about
Okay.
when they like train gorillas and things to do sign language? How does that
Okay.
apply?
Yeah. Well, how does that work? That we have autonomous vehicles. How's that work?
They're programmed.
That's right. And so are gorillas. Gorillas are just simply more advanced biological robots rather than, let's say chipmunks or mice. We anthropomorphize some of their behavior, which mimics human behavior.
How about a small clarification here? You brought up the self-driving car. Do you think it's possible to make a computer conscious?
No,
Okay.
because our consciousness is an endowment from God. We're made in the image of God.
But okay, because we're made in the image of God, God
Only
would not
God could
give the
do that. So
endowment.
God made a biological machine called humans, and he imbued that biological machine to be like himself, and man became a living soul. Otherwise, man would just simply be a glorified animal like chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans, and registered Democrats.
As a more extreme example, what about like the idea of meeting extraterrestrial life? Would you say that that's also inherently non-conscious?
I don't believe that there is.
Fair enough.
The reason why people believe in extraterrestrial life is because they've drunk the Kool-Aid of the feasibility and the viability of biological evolution. People have been so bamboozled by groupthink and mass education that they don't even realize how they've been given a pig and a poke, right? Which is
Well, they also
that.
like watch science fiction shows, which are very exciting, and they're like, I want to live
Well,
that
of,
life. I
of
want that to be
course, all right.
real.
Well, people will think, well, since evolution happened here, it could happen elsewhere, right? Now, what's the elephant in the room that's not being discussed? All this talk about environmental pressures, natural selection, blah, 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 it's all meaningless because here's the thing is in order for evolution to be true, you have to start off with an information system which is in the cell, which is DNA. And in the most rudimentary life forms, let's say we have 30,000 base pairs of DNA code that code for proteins and biological replication and development, right? We'll call that functional information. And it's linear, it's sequential in a molecular chain, much like an operating system, right? Now, when you go from a microorganism all the way up to human beings, right? You go from 30,000 base pairs of coding information to between 2 to 3 billion base pairs of linear coding information that specify all of the complex anatomy and physiology and its embryological and lifelong development. Okay, that is a mind-boggling level of complex functional information. The idea that this information system could accrue, even allowing for 13 billion years, even in a universe that is unimaginably large, is still ludicrous.
Well, here's a thought. This can go back to when we were talking about randomness, right? It could be so minuscule as to not possibly happen and still happen.
But you see, you and I and nobody else reasons this way. Because I could simply say to you, do you believe in physics?
Yeah.
Okay, well, what if I say to you, well, there really isn't physics. There are just chance occurrences producing certain appearances of continuity and regularity, whereby you infer that the regularity is the product of necessity, but this is all chance. And you
Well,
would dismiss that, right?
no. I
Oh,
would say
so in other words, do you believe right now that the regularities of life, okay, the more rudimentary regularities, do you believe that they are the product of spontaneous occurrences, or do you believe they're the product of necessity?
it could be a bit of both.
Okay, then you have no reason to believe anything.
Well, can I clarify a little bit?
It's unimportant, because now if you believe that certain sequencing that we label as having continuity, then it's just simply an illusion. There, then how do you know what's the product of chance versus necessity? How do you differentiate?
That's a really good question.
The answer is you
So
could, if you think it's a mix. Okay, then you think that certain sequencing that presents itself with continuity is the result of just spontaneous occurrence, and then certain the appearance of continuity is the product of physical necessity. Well, which one is which?
So I would say that there would be some things which must necessarily exist, like we were talking about the
No, I'm
absolute
just saying, how do you
thing
distinguish
earlier.
between? Okay, so how would you be able to distinguish between laws of nature and things that are spontaneous occurring? You wouldn't.
Let me
Okay.
turn. Okay, I
The
got to turn
point.
that over in my head a little bit.
All I'm simply saying to you is, because I don't want to go on down this rabbit trail. People will employ probabilistic reasoning. We all do, right? You believe that there are certain things that necessarily repeat. You believe in physics. You believe in laws of nature, because you don't believe that this is an illusion of spontaneous occurrences. Okay?
Yeah.
And you believe that because the improbability of spontaneous occurrences producing such regularity would be so astronomically inconceivably large that it's best explained by necessity. Just like if you went into a casino and you rolled the dice and it came up 20 times in a row, the casino managers, if they don't have access to the dice, will conclude physical necessity rather than it's just a random roll of the sevens coming up. So you believe in physics because you believe this is necessity producing the recurrence rather than spontaneous occurrence producing the illusion of it. But you see, you're reasoning probabilistically. So you reason probabilistically when it comes to physics, but when it comes to evolution and the origin of the DNA spectrum, you abandon probabilistic reasoning when it comes to evolution. So you're employing probabilistic reasoning when it suits you, and you're abandoning it when it doesn't. If you
So
employ the same probabilistic reasoning that you do for physics as you do for evolution, you would stop believing in evolution.
well, here's what I want to clarify a little bit. I would say that physics is a description of the things we're witnessing, which may or may not be necessity. Yeah?
You don't live that way.
No, I don't live that way, but I can describe it that way.
You live. Okay. Have you gotten into a car recently?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you put the key in the ignition or push the button?
Someone else drove.
Okay. Well, why did they do that?
They had the license.
No, that's not the issue. The issue is they believe that there's necessity going on rather than the world around us is just everything is spontaneously occurring, producing the illusion of necessity. Okay.
So
Look,
here's
here's a simple analogy.
go ahead.
The police are called to your home. There's a dead body on the kitchen floor. It has a bullet hole in it. There's a pistol on the counter. Okay? A bullet has been fired. It matches ballistically to the bullet that's in the head on the person on the floor. And the cops say, "Did you do this?" You go, "No, I didn't touch the gun." Right? They say, "Well, your fingerprints on it." Say, "Well, yeah, because I live here." And they'll say, "Well, how did this happen?" You just say, I don't know. The gun was on the counter, and it was pointing inward to the center of the room. And that person, let's say it's your girlfriend, she bent over to pick up a paper towel on the floor, and at the moment that she picked up the paper towel, her head was in alignment, and the gun just spontaneously went off. Now, are the police officers going to believe you?
No.
Okay, it's because they're using probabilistic reasoning.
Yeah.
Now, that's an analogy. What I'm saying to you is this. You believe in, from a secular point of view, you believe in certain physical repeating necessities that we call continuities, and that these are the product of necessity, rather than these are just spontaneous occurrences giving the illusion of necessity, and you do so by probabilistic reasoning. That to get all of these continuities, all of these regularities happening over and over and over again by pure chance through a random calculation would be so astronomically remote that it doesn't pass the smell test. You're reasoning probabilistically.
Actually, about the regularities in nature, I would say that I don't know how they could be different.
Sir, I'll give you the analogy of the dice in the casino. It doesn't prove what I'm saying, but it illustrates it. Okay, you go in there, you roll sevens. If you keep on rolling sevens, at a certain point in time, the casino managers are going to stop believing that the roll was to be reckoned as random, but now that the dice are in some way weighted or fixed.
Yeah.
Now, I was playing backgammon one time with a relative. I rolled the dice, I got double sixes. Okay, it happens. I rolled them again, I got double sixes again. All right, that's rare, but it happens. And then I rolled them again, I got double sixes. Okay. Now, at that point, I just start laughing. I'm like, wow, never seen that before, right? Now, if I had rolled double sixes again, I would have really freaked out, but the sixes didn't come up. At a certain point of you getting a certain roll, like sevens, which is a winning roll at the craps table, at a certain point, the casino managers are going to stop believing that the roll is random in the way we're using it, not just simply a spontaneous occurrence, versus that the dice are weighted and that the sevens are coming up because of physical necessity.
Right.
Okay, so they're reasoning probabilistically about the regularity of outcomes, aren't they?
They are.
Okay, so this is an analogy of how we think about physics and about the regularities and continuities of life. People do not believe that the regularities of life that have been going on for centuries are simply the result of spontaneous occurrences, that the regularities are the product of some necessity.
So I guess this really goes back into how we think randomness works.
Okay,
Because
look. Imagine somebody goes into a deli in New York State. They buy a lottery ticket, and they win $10 million. The next day they go to Connecticut. They buy a lottery ticket. They win $10 million. They go to Pennsylvania. They get $10 million. They go to New Jersey. Then they go down to Delaware. Then they go to Virginia, and they start to go to every state. Now, if they keep on getting a lottery ticket and they keep on winning, at a certain point, when are you going to think that he's not winning because of chance? That
you
you're
see,
going to
that's
think.
sort of where I'm going. With
Do
your
you
dice
understand the
example,
point I'm trying to make to you?
I'm trying to repeat it back to you to see if
Okay.
I'm understanding you.
Look. There was a case in one particular state that there were random selections for who would be on the I think it was the leftmost side of the ballot. Okay. And one particular party was getting it over and over and over again. And the Supreme Court in that state did calculations to find out what the probability of them getting that most treasured position on the ballot would be. And it was astronomical. And at a certain point, they said, we cannot prove that this political party was cheating. But given the probability of this happening by chance, it is so ridiculous that they're now they impose new regulations so that they could no longer claim it was random. The point I'm trying to make to you is this. You believe in the continuity of life, that it is not the product of spontaneous occurrences due to the improbability of producing that is so inconceivable that you opt for physical necessity. Okay, everybody thinks this way, sir.
Yeah.
Unless you're crazy.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
Okay, so you believe in physics in part due to your probabilistic reasoning, but you abandon that probabilistic reasoning when it comes to random mutations accumulating over a length of period of time to produce the DNA in human beings.
I think I see our disconnect. I really do. Can I try and explain it here?
Do you know what the probability of a mutation producing a correct coding sequence for a single amino acid is? It's 1 in 20. If we have two coding sequences that represent amino acids to code for proteins, two of them in a row will be 1 in 400. So we went from 1 in 20 to 1 in 400 when we increase the linear molecular sequence. Okay, 1 in 20 to 1 in 400. Do you see the exponential growth in the improbability?
Yes.
Okay, now when we go to the third nucleotide, or excuse me, I should say nucleotide, the third coding sequence, which is called a codon, to code for an amino acid. When we go to 3 in a row, that would be in a correct functional sequence. It's 1 in 8.
Astronomical.
It's 1 in 8,000.
It becomes astronomical very quickly.
Right. And so when you go to 6 coding sequences, right, which would be, there are 3 coding sequences, there are 3 nucleotides that produce 1 coding sequence for an amino acid. When we go to 6, you're now talking about 1 in 65,000, right? Now, the most rudimentary proteins out there would be on a range of anywhere from 100 to 150 amino acid. Most proteins in biological systems are vastly more complex, in the hundreds. Then we have to include the folding of proteins, which also introduce another astronomical layer of complexity.
I agree.
No, but the point is this: 13.7 billion years. Even if we had a trillion squared Earth-like planets, would not be enough trials to overcome the improbability.
We don't know that because
we do. No, sir. From a purely probabilistic standpoint, you would need a certain number of trials, okay, in order to overcome the frequency of error. So, for example, suppose I said to you, I'm thinking of a number from 1 to 100. If you guess the number correctly, I will give you $1 million, hypothetically speaking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you guess once, you have a 1 in 100 chance. But what if I give you multiple trials? If I now give you 2 guesses, you've now increased the likelihood of your getting the correct number or sequence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people think, well, I know it's improbable, but they're not really comprehending what the improbability is. 13.7 billion years, okay? Even when you allow for a trillion squared Earth-like planets, seems like an innumerable number of trials to get the job done. It's not, because when we calculate the coding sequences, even for lower life forms and including human DNA, we can calculate with precision what the probability is that random mutations would have to build this very long linear sequence.
Okay? Yes, I agree.
Now, good. So let's take one protein that's 150 amino acids long, right?
There's 2 things I really want to bring up.
Listen to me carefully. Anthony Flew. Did you ever hear of him?
No.
Okay. He was a philosopher, and he was a feared atheist philosopher and debater. He was a lifelong atheist. Toward the latter end of his life, he abandoned atheism, and he wrote a book called There Is a God. Okay? The book was titled There Is No God, and he crosses out the word no. He became a deist before he died. And you know what changed his mind? It was not any philosophical reasoning. They sat down with him and they showed him, listen, here is the complexity of the DNA code for general life forms and including human DNA. Here's precisely what the probabilities are to get a couple of proteins. Just a couple of proteins. Just to get a couple of proteins coded for correctly, there's not enough trials in a grand universe to overcome the frequency of error. That's just for a couple of proteins.
There's two things I really want to bring up, Darth. Can I bring up two things?
Yeah, go ahead.
The first thing is that earlier we were talking about the bridge perfect hand and that it's incomprehendibly unlikely to happen, and yet it did happen.
But that's only because you are comparing it to non-scoring hands.
Yeah. And I would argue that
so
life
you're going to argue
being compared to non-scoring.
Great. So are you arguing that it doesn't matter how improbable something is, it could still happen?
A little bit. This is my second point.
Okay, but you don't reason this way in life.
No, and this is my second point. The second thing I want to say is there's a difference between randomness which could have been different and randomness which could not have been different.
Okay, all right. Listen to me. I am not arguing that evolution did not happen on probabilistic grounds. Do you understand?
I'm not saying you are.
Okay, what I'm saying is when you believe in evolution, you believe in evolution in abandonment to your normal probabilistic reasoning. Okay? You believe in physics and the necessities and the continuity of life rather than these are spontaneous occurrences producing these visible continuities. You do so on probabilistic reasoning.
A little bit, but a little bit no.
No, sir. No, not on a little, no. That is absolutely false, what you just said.
Well, that's my second point.
You believe in the regularities of life because of the unimaginable improbabilities that spontaneous occurrences would produce the same outcomes on a regular basis.
That's assuming the regularities of life could be different. And
Sir,
I'm not
listen
convinced
to me.
of that.
Will you stop with the bullshit? You believe in laws of nature because of the astronomical remoteness, unfathomable astronomical remoteness that spontaneous occurrences are producing the appearance of these regularities.
And I agree with that, with the caveat.
Good, but you see, here's the thing. The idea that evolution over billions of years and having unimaginable numbers of Earth-like planets as trials. Do you know what I mean by trials?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chances for it to happen, basically.
Right. You're giving them, that you're giving it enough trials where if you have sufficient number of trials that you can overcome some of the improbabilities. Just like if I gave you multiple guesses at a number of 1 in 100, the increase of trials can overcome at a lower end the improbability. But what you're not understanding is that the genome of the animal kingdom, okay, even the genome for a microorganism, right, it's composed of multiple coding sequences for proteins and other regulatory functions in cellular reproduction. We can precisely calculate what the improbability is just for the coding sequences of a 30 base pair coding sequence for a microorganism.
And my issue with you saying that is that you're assuming it could have been different.
No, you're not focusing on what I'm trying to say to you. Okay, the improbability of that occurring, even giving an unimaginable number of trials, the improbability is so great that it dwarfs the number of trials that you could throw at it.
So,
do you understand what I just said?
Yeah, but I don't think you're seeing my point either.
Okay. No, I don't think you're getting what I'm saying. I really don't. Okay.
I think we are missing each other. I agree. We're miscommunicating.
Do you know the improbability Okay, let's say we have one protein. It has 150 amino acids in it. Okay, right? Each amino acid, each coding sequence for an amino acid is 1 in 20. Okay,
Yep.
right? So when we have, let's just say we have 100, right? So the improbability of it producing a 100 amino acid functional sequence, and I'm not a mathematician, so I'm going to give you a crude breakdown. This isn't going to
That's
be
fine.
spot on accurate. It's going to be 1 in 10 or 1 in 20, followed by the exponential 1 with 100 zeros.
And,
1 in 20, 1 in 10, followed by 100 zeros.
yeah, I'm agreeing that that's
okay.
incredibly unlikely.
No, okay. So the point is this: when we start to go to multiple proteins that you need even for a microorganism, we're not even talking about the coding sequences that have for biological functioning and cellular reproduction, because proteins is only one facet of the DNA code for organisms. It's not just proteins. There's other regulatory functions in the DNA code. So the improbability is beyond anything that we could ever imagine. It is so great. And so
Only if
even
it's purely random.
you're not under, okay, you're not getting this. So I'm going to drop the subject. You're just truly not getting this. Okay? The point I'm trying to make to you is this. If you believe that evolution happened, okay, do you believe evolution happened?
Yeah.
Okay. You believe it while jettisoning your probabilistic reasoning. You completely abandon your probabilistic reasoning when you believe in evolution. Do you
Can
realize
I
that?
attempt to explain it just once?
Do you dispute that you're abandoning your probabilistic reasoning?
Yes.
Okay, well that's false. You're
Can I try to
categorically wrong
explain
here.
why I think
No,
that?
sir, you're not understanding. Listen to me carefully, okay? Do you believe that there are laws of physics because of the unimaginable improbability that spontaneous occurrence is behind these events?
No.
Okay, we're done. You're not getting this. Okay? You're just not getting this. You do believe in physics because of the unimaginable improbability that spontaneous occurrences is producing the appearance of continuity.
Can I try and explain why I believe in
No, we're
physics?
done. We're done. Okay. I could explain this to a child and accept it. You're purposely being obtuse. I'm showing
I'm
you
really not trying to
definitively
be.
you believe you are. You believe in physics because of the unimaginable improbability of spontaneous occurrence.
So that is a part of why I believe in physics, but
No,
not the
sir. No,
entire
sir.
reason.
Okay, it's the main reason why you believe in it.
No, actually, I think the main reason is that I don't know how it could be different.
You're not understanding. It could be different. It could be different. It could
I
be
have not had that demonstrated to me.
well. How could you? You could. It couldn't be demonstrated to you.
Exactly.
First of all, no, you're not understanding. How are you going to differentiate between a chronology events that they're purely spontaneous versus their sequential causation? Because you're going to be presupposing you're going to presuppose the causal principle, which is fundamental to laws of physics. Okay, so
Sorry, you lost me a little bit there.
when we talk about physics, what is fundamental to laws of physics is the causal principle, that for each event, there is a cause. You have a cause and effect sequencing.
Yeah.
And then the regularities that we see are just simply subcategories of cause and effect sequencing.
Yeah.
Okay, so the bottom line is this. I'll use the analogy of the dice. The outcome of the dice rolls at the casino, 15 sevens in a row, could be the product of necessity that the dice are weighted, or we could say it's random illustratively because the dice are fair and not weighted. Now,
Yeah.
unless you have access to the dice, let's say you're in a casino on a cruise ship and the guy throws the dice at the window. The casino managers do not have access to the dice. They can't examine to see whether the dice are fair or they're weighted.
I'm agreeing.
So there is no way to rationally justify that the outcome was by necessity. So they're going to have to reason probabilistically. Are the casino managers going to be reasoning probabilistically?
On the subject, so yes, but
Right,
also
and that is how you and everyone else reasons around us when it comes to the continuity of events. Okay?
I have what is perhaps an odd question for you.
I have to step away for a minute. I'll be back.
Okay. So I guess a follow-up question to what we were talking about there, if someone wants to answer it. I'm not sure if you guys were all listening or not. Or
Yeah.
I might just be talking into the void here, but
No, I was listening. I just.
What question?
I have a question to ask. I wanted to make sure you guys weren't AFK or something. Would be so Darth was talking about cause and effect being a thing which happens. Is the argument he's trying to get to that the cause and effect is being like secured by something?
Are you talking about like experience and certain consistencies over time?
I think so.
I don't know what your question is in relation to.
Yeah,
Like
if
cause
you
and
want to
effect
join
in
the
relation to
conversation,
what?
yeah, it's fine. I'll just wait for Darth to get back.
Tone Loc, your daddy's a failure. But I'm glad that you follow him, Tone. Keep following that failure. I mean, if there was an ignorant piece of shit award, Darth would win it, and you'd probably win second place, wouldn't you, Tone? Or would that be J. Robin? Maybe Enlightened One? Not sure. Oh, I love the guy who says who overtalks everyone is pissed about someone overtalking him. Sorry, Darth, you can't handle my fire, bud. See, the thing is, I'm just like you, Darth, in that way. That's why you can't fuck with me. I'm just like you. So all that shit talking you do, all that calling people crazy and blocking them, all that dumb shit you do, I'm worse than you at that. So welcome to my world. Tone, don't be a goofy ass. Put your fucking hand down, son. You're not coming up here, bitch. Put your hand down. Thank you. You thought this was going to be a conversation, Darth. You don't have conversations. You have bitch fests. That's what you have. By the way, the fact that you're getting so angry that you're spamming my messages shows me exactly what kind of quote unquote man you are. Oh, and by the way, I'm not reading any of them. But I know it's you. Because when you get mad, you spam like a little child on Twitter. You spam like Donald Trump on fucking Twitter at 3 a.m. It's all good. Have your cry and then you can sit there in shame. It's okay. By the way, you didn't have questions for me. You said, why is it that there's no God? Again, God is a concept made up by humans. If you think it's so fundamental, ooh, goodness. You're a little more lost than I thought there, Darth. And then you're going to tell me when I state your position that you've stated 1,000 times, that's not your position, Darth. You're not fooling anybody. Sorry. So, yeah. What's up, Sammy?
Oh, thanks, doing great. Thanks for pinging me up.
Yeah, no, I'm having fun.
Yeah.
I feel Darth wanted to have his little normal conversation, and of course, I'm nobody's bitch, so I'm gonna go ahead and have my own fun. So
Yep.
I did, and he's gonna get mad because, of course, the guy who interrupts gets interrupted and throws a fucking bitch fit about it. So it's okay. It's okay, Darth. Take your medicine, son. And the reason why Darth hates me is because I'm like him in that way. See, I don't let you finish your bullshit sentences or make assumptions or say that people are playing games to deflect. Yep.
Yeah.
That's why you don't like me, Darth. I know. Because I put your game right back on you, and you fucking don't know how to deal with it when somebody is worse than you at what you do to people. That's why. And you can deny it all you fucking want, but I know. What's up, Sammy?
Yeah, just gonna say that you can be an asshole too. I've seen it.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, and especially if some little dipshit like Darth Dawkins is in my my crowd. Absolutely. Oh, I thrive on being a piece of shit to people like him. He's scum of the earth. So, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see. Maybe he's got one of his little followers to come in. I don't know. We'll see. What's up? How you doing?
I'm good.
What question did you have for this atheist?
I just wanted to I'm totally against this kind of behavior.
Which one?
That we see with Darth and people surrounding him.
Oh, you're a Catholic.
Yeah, so I don't understand the taunting, right? Or us versus them kind of dialogue. I think it's unproductive.
Oh, it is. But see, and this is the thing. If you know anything about any of my other rooms, you would know that I actually have conversations with people who want to have them. But when people just make it a, well, I'm going to deflect anything I am ever asked, if that's the game you want to play, not you, of course, but if someone else wants to play that game, I'm not for it. Sorry, I'm nobody's I'm nobody's fucking lapdog on that. So I absolutely will do what I want to do to people like that. But as far as like regular conversations, in fact, I was just part of another room the other day. What was it? Thursday? Yeah, Thursday. And it was all religious people. Like I was the only atheist, but I was being interviewed by one of the main runners of the room, and it was a great conversation. 2-hour interview. It's great, and then we did like an hour and a half Q&A. So I don't mind those. Like if people have real questions for me, I will give answers. Like I've given answers. People have asked me about, how did I become an atheist, or what do I think happens after we die, or as an atheist, what do I think about like the early universe, and different things, right? I'll answer all these questions. That's fine. But if someone comes in and says, there's a fundamental thing I'm presupposing and I don't want to hear anything different, but I'm going to act like I want to have a conversation with you, then I don't have time for you. So, Orchid, do you happen to have a question for me?
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
At the moment, I don't have like a question, but maybe you should expand on why are you an atheist?
Sure. So I was a Christian. I was not Catholic, but my father was raised Catholic when he was younger. But I was raised in a Christian household. Both my parents were Christian at the time. Going to a Methodist church, then we went to a Lutheran church, and then I went right before I deconverted. I went to a Baptist church. Okay, so I did believe up until about the age of 14, I did believe fully that there was this character called God, that Jesus was a real person, that Noah's Ark really happened. I believed a lot of these things just based on it said it in a book, right? It said it in a book. I believed it. Now, at the age of 14, I said, okay, well, I'm giving scrutiny to other things in life. Why am I not giving scrutiny to my God belief? Well, it turns out that it's an emotional connection and has zero to do with data. Of course, that's religious faith, right? Believing without evidence, or assuming that your personal experience matters as much as like objective data, right? And so I was living that way. And then by the age of 17, I realized that I had no real reason to believe in the concept. It was just that I wanted to believe in a concept. And then I left. I left that alone because I realized that it served no real utility in my life. So I've been considered an atheist for 17 years.
Yeah, I had a similar experience when I was 12. I was not raised as a Christian, but they did baptize me, and I did listen to certain stuff in school, like you guys call it, I think, Sunday school or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
And I had a lot of questions because it didn't make sense to me, like the stories of the Genesis and stuff like that. I didn't get proper answers, and I became atheist very quickly after, I think, 13 or 14. Always had like this notion that there is something more above matter, something spiritual. So then I started dabbling into like alchemy and occult mystery religions. Didn't believe in God, more of like believing that I'm sort of a God, right? That I'm a part of something bigger. Didn't believe that there is like a creator, a mind.
But something bigger, does that mean that? But you're talking about like immaterial,
Yeah,
which I don't believe in, right? As an
like a
atheist, I'm
certain,
like, ah.
yeah, I understand it. But then I experienced certain things, supernatural things in my life, like evil, and recognized
fools. And they don't want to admit it.
Yeah, that's what most people.
But anyways, I've seen people who are very smart Christians of all sorts of demeanors, whether they're more sort of bulldozer like Darth Dawkins, or whether they're a lot more reserved like Matt Slick. The reactions are essentially the same because their worldview gets made full of. It doesn't particularly matter what type
Good
of
morning.
demeanor they have. If you make their worldview look stupid, they're not going to like it at all. So all this crap that they say, Darth Dawkins is just this horrible person, blah 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 blah. Even if that were the case, which I totally disagree with that, but even if that were the case, that would have absolutely nothing to do with what he's saying at all.
See, that's what's crazy. Even with the stuff that's not attached to religion, attached to anything else, if there's a person that's trying to get information out there and give his position towards people, and people don't like it, and is making other people look stupid and making himself look more smarter than anybody else, people gonna hate on that, and people gonna try to tear that person down.
Yep, that's pretty much how it goes.
Bro, they just don't like seeing a person in a better situation.
But this is the only time I've ever made a room about Darth Dawkins. In all the years I've known him for like 5, 6 years now. This is the only time I've ever made a room about Darth Dawkins, ever. I see atheists on a daily basis making rooms about this guy.
So wait, they always make rooms about this dude just to hate on him, just because of what he thinks and what he says.
Yeah, the thing here's the thing about Darth Dawkins. He's a straight shooter, right?
Right.
And
So he
he,
ain't gonna cut no he ain't gonna cut
yeah,
no corners with you. He gonna tell you straight up.
yeah, pretty much. And and if he thinks you're getting off track, not answering questions, BSing him or something, he'll just let you know straightforward.
How could you not
If
respect a
if
person like that?
well, it just depends on who you are, I suppose. If your worldview is the one being made a fool of course you're not going to have a respect for it. It is not because of how he is in demeanor necessarily. It's because of what he's saying to you. No one likes their worldview to be.
Right. Well, what I noticed, depending on what religion you belong to or what ideology you belong to, it's always gonna be some type of radical group or some type of group that's against you and gonna try to make you sound stupid. Well, that sounds normal, and it just sounds like them people are just being dickheads.
Yeah, pretty much.
I
All
don't like
atheists
that.
really have to do, man, all they really have to do is give an argument to why there is no God. That's all they have to do.
Righteously so. And the thing is, they can, like me being who I am. You can easily make that argument. Really, you really can really make that argument. But I don't know. It's different. It's very different.
You can make what argument specifically?
I mean, you can make an argument that there's no God. You can make that argument, but whether or
What
not that can be
argument would
proven,
that be?
what argument would that be?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Anybody can make any type of argument if they sit there long enough.
Okay. When I say make an argument, I'm talking about make an argument that has premises that are both valid and sound.
Right.
I'm not talking about just arguing. I'm talking about having a legitimate line of reasoning that follows from what you're saying. The conclusion rationally and necessarily follows. So I thought I'd do what the atheists would usually do, Dark, and make a room about you.
Well, I mean, this was shockingly infantile on his part. I mean, this guy presents himself as a badass, defender of atheism. He's bragged that he's not afraid to debate or dialogue with me. I mean, he's done so with great verbal vigor. And when he's alone in the room and there's nobody there, I raise my hand. I said, "Bring me up." He finally brings me up, and he actually refuses to let me talk. The whole time he's just verbally lambasting me. And I said, "Why don't we have an adult interaction here? Let's talk about atheism." I said, "How is it that God doesn't exist?" Now, I kid you not, what came out of his mouth was, "Are you ready? What do you
Listening.
mean by God?"
What do you
Okay,
mean
that's the
by God?
classic response.
Yeah.
Obviously, that was more than likely going to come out of his mouth because that's what, excuse me, that's what atheists have been doing as of late. Like the past year or
Yeah.
so, they've been pulling this little shtick
What do
about
you
what do you
mean?
mean
What do
by
you mean
God.
by God? Well, whatever you mean by it when you say you don't believe in God.
And what do they mean by it when they worship these low key gods and these
Well,
surface
well,
level gods?
you see, they look. This is what liars they are. Okay, with rare exception, they know precisely what we mean by God, especially those of us in Western civilization, that we are referring to the supreme being, who is the creator of all things that are not himself. Okay, they know
Right.
this. Now, rather than address the question why there is no God or no gods, right? They want to play this constant dodgeball game, right? Bait and switch. Well, what do you mean by God? This same thing happened with Tonlock, with the effervescent shallow Shannon Q duck lips, where when I inquired of her how God doesn't exist, all I got was a verbal dog and pony show of trolling. But then, around a year later, she appeared in a Friendly Atheist YouTube channel video where she openly declared that she was a positive atheist, that there is no God, right? Then a couple of weeks after that, Tonlock shows up and says, "Okay, you declared yourself now as a positive atheist rather than just whatever a temporal agnostic means," which she had evoked. And immediately she does the classic bait and switch. What do you mean by God? And after Tonlock gave a basic, ordinary, run-of-the-mill definition of God as creator, okay, and he says, "How is it that God doesn't exist?" And again, she goes, "What do you mean by God?" I mean, this is what losers these people are.
It's crazy.
Okay, now Ed, you're making a claim in your profile. All right, let's read your profile here. It says, "I don't believe in the non-existence of God or in the existence of any God." Okay, so you are claiming to suspend judgment. Are we clear on that point?
Yes, can you also read the second sentence, please?
Sure. Okay.
There are two sentences. in
When
my-
I invoke facts, I reference neither your God nor not your God. Okay, that's an incoherent statement.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, let me tell you why. Right? Are you familiar with the law of excluded middle?
It doesn't apply here. I
Okay,
reference neither one.
listen to me. Are you an adult?
That's irrelevant.
Okay, I'll ask you again. If you don't ask the question, I'll kick you off the stage because you don't want to have an adult interaction. You're up here on stage.
Yeah, I
Well,
actually
the
do want
reason
to
why
have an
I'm
adult
okay, why
interaction.
the fuck are you over
Can,
talking me?
can you stop
Okay,
poisoning the
listen.
well?
Would you stop over talking me? Would you stop acting like
Can
every
you stop
imbecile
shouting and
atheist?
poisoning the well?
I'm
Hey,
shouting
hey, I'm
because
not
you
going
will
for
not
any
stop
of
over
that, and
talking
that
me.
sounds
Now, do I have
childish.
to mute
Just
you?
talk and
Can
Be
you
don't
stop
quiet,
argue.
Ed.
shouting?
All right. Okay.
And
Why am I shouting? Because you are over talking me.
No, I
Okay.
wasn't.
Yes, you were. Stop. Okay. You know what? You're banned. Okay. All right. We're done with him. He's gone. Okay. See, this is what they do to one degree or another. They just turn the interaction into a verbal fluster cluster. Okay. Right. This is what they want. This is what they do. They are completely disingenuous clowns. Okay? He says he when he invokes facts, I mean, this is the psychotic nature of some of these people. He says, I neither reference God nor not God. Well, that's simply false. Then you have no facts to invoke, because a fact will either reference God or not reference God. It's that simple. We're just simply applying the law of excluded middle. These people are irrational by choice. No
By the
wonder
way,
Patrick Voss doesn't want to talk with me. Yeah, go ahead.
speaking of atheist talking heads, earlier this morning I was in the Steve Appel's Ask an Atheist room, and he was entirely evasive. Entirely,
This is his. Okay,
it was sickening.
listen. Evasive is his middle name. If you look on his birth certificate, it says Steve Evasive Appel. He was born with it.
Yeah, and then he pretends he goes in this guise of wanting to have a rational, intelligent discussion, when that's nothing of the sort. He's not interested in that, right? Because when you ask him the right questions, he's evasive and deceptive.
The last
Yeah.
time I talked with him in one venue, right, where he didn't have moderation powers, nor did I, and I gave him a truncated question, right? One that was kind of hard. I forget what the question was, but it's one of my usual questions, where he just dodged, and I kept on coming back and said, you are evading the question. You see, this is a part of their MO, folks, when you deal with these people. One of their tactics in discourse, in debate, is to evade. How is it there is no God? Well, what do you mean by God? Well, wait a minute. You believe there are no gods. So it doesn't matter what particular attributes I ascribe to the God that I believe in. We're talking about what you believe. You believe there are no gods. So why does it matter which God? Because your position is that there are no gods. So why does it matter which one? You are dismissive of them all. You see, it's like we're dealing with children. But at least children have an excuse. These people do not.
It shocks me how they're not embarrassed and have a little bit of integrity and shame about their behavior. It shocks me. It amazes me, really. And they should be embarrassed of their behavior, but they're not. They're shameless about it. So, yeah, what can you do?
That was actually why I left the conversation with you and Steve when I jumped in there, Darth, because he was just acting like a child. It was ridiculous. He wasn't letting you speak, and he was just saying.
Are you talking about Patrick or
Oh yeah,
Steve
maybe.
Appel?
Yeah, that might be who it was. It was earlier this morning. I went in. He was just basically. He was just saying.
He was just no. What he was doing was he was verbally unzipping his pants, dropping his trousers, and verbally defecating on me. That's all he was doing. Right?
Yeah, he wasn't trying to have a conversation. He was just
the guy's a
repeating the same
fake.
thing.
This is a guy who pretends that he's badass, right? Oh yeah, I'll debate Darth Dawkins, but I won't debate him in a place where he is much. I'm a place where he can't misbehave. So I show up in his own room, and he has complete power, and there's nobody else there. He has complete power. He invites me up, then he verbally defecates on me, and then he sends me back to the audience. I mean, it's amazing.
Who was this, Darth?
Patrick Voss, who hosts
He
a
was basically
clubhouse
just saying.
room. Yeah,
Is
he
he one of
hosts
the
a
guys that
room. Let me
opens
just
up the
let me
Ask
just
an
finish.
Atheist?
Yeah, it's called Ask an
Yeah.
Atheist. It's a guy who
Okay, I
presents
know who you're talking
himself
about.
as badass, but he's not badass. Okay, right?
Yeah, he was basically the equivalent of just saying your arguments suck, your arguments suck, your arguments suck repeatedly, but he didn't refute anything, and he wasn't
Yeah.
letting you make any kind of comments.
So
or
here
answer
we
any
go
questions.
again with atheists behaving badly. They want to bitch and complain about me? Really? This is like a serial killer getting upset when somebody doesn't put their blinker on and cuts in front of them on the highway. I mean, these people are unbelievable.
Yeah, I had not seen him around in a while. I thought he had left Clubhouse. I know he was mad at Tom Rabbit because Tom Rabbit made that video in which someone was posing as J Mike, I think it was, and he kind of fooled them, and then he posted it on his thing, and I knew Patrick was ticked off about that, and I'd not seen him since then. But so I was surprised when he said that. I guess he must be back.
Well, that's because Patrick was completely convinced that that was J Mike. That's why he's upset.
Oh yeah, he was. There was a lot in there that was convinced. I'm not sure. I just remember the conversation, and I remember it being posted online. And I remember him being mad that he made Tom Rabbit. But after that, I'd not seen him much. Maybe here and there, and then he just kind of disappeared. So uh, I have not seen him in probably 2 months now, I would say. Oh, I wanted to ask you, Darth, as far as I don't know if you follow politics. I have not been following politics a lot the last year or so, but you know what's funny is I'll see these conversations. I'll go in these rooms and there'll be these philosophical discussions. People will be talking over definitions of things. Yesterday, some atheists were trying to uh, ask about the omnipowers of God and what does this mean? What does that mean? What is God's knowledge? And I find it interesting because some of them in there, I saw a picture of the Supreme Court nominee, and you know, the other day she was asked what a woman was. And she said, I'm not a biologist. She couldn't define what a woman was. And I think it's really funny when you have atheists in these groups that want to criticize Christians because they can't really explain certain attributes and certain things about God, but they have no problem, it seems, with people in everyday politics and everyday life saying they don't know what a woman is, and I just find that really interesting. And then they'll even hold these people up as some sort of hero, and I just noticed. I was wondering what your thoughts are on that. I don't know if you've seen it, but she was specifically asked what is a woman, define what a woman is, and she said she didn't know something, that she's not a biologist, and I didn't know what your thoughts are on that.
Typical. She's a liar. She knows what a woman is. Okay. She just didn't want to give the correct answer so that the LGBT mafia alphabet soup. Excuse me, I'm out of breath. I'm going up and down the stairs. She just didn't want to be truthful. But then again, she's a leftist. That's what we expect out of them. They're never truthful.
That's exactly what I was thinking, that she did not want to get criticized by certain groups. So she just decided she didn't know what it was since she's not a biologist. And I just thought that was hilarious.
She just she just went up there and just told a bold-faced lie. It's really that simple. She just went up there and lied.
I see we have a couple of people on the stage. So, Candace, are you an atheist? Candace, your mic is muted. Are you an atheist?
Candace and I had a
No,
yeah.
I'm a
Candace and
Bible.
I had a chat the other night. She's not an atheist.
Okay. What about
It,
Pipeline? Are you an atheist? Pipeline, your mic is muted as well. Are you an atheist? All right, look, if you don't respond, if you're on the stage, we're going to expect you to say something. All right, if you don't respond, you're going to be back in the audience.
I think he is attempting to respond. We just can't hear him. His mic is on. We just can't hear him.
I don't see any. I see his mic is muted on my screen.
It shows his mic is live on my screen.
All right, well, Pipeline, leave and come back. Benjamin, are you an atheist?
Hey guys, yeah, I'm an atheist, and I just have to say to the title of the room, I don't hate Darth, and I don't think he makes me look like a fool. I think we're good here. I think exchange is a good thing. It's healthy.
Okay. So as an atheist, you deny God's existence?
Yeah, what's going on, guys?
Hold on a
As
minute.
an
Oh, yeah.
atheist, as an
Yeah,
atheist,
Saint
I
is an
find
atheist.
that the
I'll give him.
evidence
Hold on
for
a minute.
God
Hold on,
does
Benjamin.
not read.
Benjamin, hold on. Benjamin, hold on a second. All right.
Yeah, what's going on,
Saint is
guys?
an atheist thug. Yeah. Close your mic.
I'm a what?
Saint is an atheist thug.
Why
So
am
I'm
I a
going to give
thug?
him a chance to. I'm going to give him a chance to defend the falsity of God to everyone
Why,
here and in the audience,
what's an
everyone in the
atheist
room.
thug?
So Saint. God does not exist because.
What's an atheist thug?
I'll give you 30 seconds to answer the question, or you're off the stage.
No, but you called me
Starting now.
an atheist thug, though. I just want to know what that means.
If you don't answer the question, you're off the stage. God does not exist. He's off the stage.
I got rid of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry. Hopefully this mic is working now.
Okay.
I just wanted to back up Matt and Darth, and I'm an atheist, and I don't hate Darth Dawkins because he makes us look like fools. I think most atheists hate him because he doesn't stick up for their SJW nonsense, and that's why I feel more comfortable with you guys than I do among my fellow atheists. So
Okay.
that's all I had to say. Is I'm backing up Matt Adams. Is that
Well,
he brought up the perfect example.
You'll notice that when I make broad, sweeping generalizations about atheists, I don't usually say all. I'll say the overwhelming majority, because there are some exceptions that from time to time we encounter some mature-minded atheists that are willing to dialogue and debate. But this is not the norm.
Yeah, I think nowadays they're so hooked on politics that they're not even talking about religion. They just want to browbeat you with their alleged morality.
And contrary to the vomit that is, regurgitated at me about, quote, my bad behavior, I don't get agitated with people who say things that I disagree with. That actually gives me an opportunity to further the conversation and the analysis. It's just that when people are just clearly being deceptive and evasive, right? And they just do it to the point when they know that we know. Anyway, I digress. Okay, so you're an atheist. The standard definition of atheism. All right, hold on. I gotta step away.
Oh yeah, sorry. I just wanted to back up Matt, and I want to say for the record, all the ACA atheists say that Darth never answers questions. He answered my questions. I asked him questions, and he answered it. So when all the Dillahunties and stuff want to say this crap, they're full of it. So now I'm going back to work. I just wanted to back up Matt.
Yeah, you're a rare case, Pipeline. I'll actually like you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand stuff, man. I'm not here to tell you you're wrong because I understand that you guys are trying to save our immortal soul from hell, and so when they act like you're being bad because you're trying to save us, it pisses me off. It's like if they're not going to be honest about why you're saying you're doing, they try and assign feelings to you that I know you guys don't have. It's not you guys don't hate people. It's that you're trying to save them, and yeah, it pisses me off, man. I wish my alleged side could be more honest about this.
Well, we need more level-minded atheists like you to help set these other people straight, or at least help them to understand that this is not an issue of hating people. It's an issue of, well, this is what God wants, and your
Yeah,
soul
if
is
you
on the
guys
line.
believe what you say you believe, then then you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. So as much as they say they hate you, man, they hate me. Like you wouldn't believe in because I'm some kind of traitor or something, But whatever, man. I'm just telling the truth. I'm just telling how I see it anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I gotta go back off to work, so I don't know how to leave this stage. But thank you for letting me vent. I really had a good time talking with Darth, and now I'm really pissed because people lied to me about how it was going to be. So whatever.
Well, definitely. We'll look forward to talking to you soon. I can put you
I,
back down.
okay, yeah, thank you. I'm just wanting to listen. So thank you.
It looks like Mr. Thug is still in the audience, so we're going to give him one last chance to explain how it is the case that there is no God. If you can't do it, then you're off the stage. Okay? You're going to be banned. So go ahead, come up. If you don't answer the question, you're off the stage. You're not coming back up ever again either. Saint, you have your hand raised. At least I see you have your hand raised, so you're welcome back on the stage. But you're gonna answer the question. It doesn't look like he wants to answer questions. Okay. Well, Benjamin, you said you're an atheist, right?
I am.
All right. So God does not exist because.
An atheist just feels that the evidence for God hasn't reached the bar for fact.
Well, there are several problems with that. For one, atheism is the denial of God. Okay. Atheism holds, at least in the vast majority of philosophical definitions, are going to hold that there is no God. It's a propositional stance. But aside from that, the criterion that you hold for disbelief in God is going to be violated when you try to apply it to your own position. But let's make it clear first of all, there is no neutrality towards God. There is no neutrality towards your metaphysical framework. You're either going to affirm God's existence or deny God's existence in virtue of your non-affirmation. This is
But
because,
these are not the same thing. These are not opposites.
well,
This
in the
is not
case,
the Aristotelian excluded middle.
this is, I'm going to explain to you why it's the case, okay? Because when you're invoking facts, you're invoking them with reference to a metaphysical context. Okay, the facts that we're talking about are proximate facts. They're not standalone, absolute in and of themselves. They're not the facts that not exist a se. These facts are contingent facts. These facts exist within a metaphysical reality, and that's gonna constitute your worldview or your model of reality of how things operate. Okay, on the grand scheme of things. So everyone is operating, okay, on the basis of a metaphysical framework. Okay, if that is the case, if they're operating off of a metaphysical framework, all metaphysical frameworks, all worldviews are propositional in nature because they're affirmations, they're belief states about how the world is, the nature of reality. Okay, and because they're propositional, they're going to be beholden to the laws of logic. Okay, the three laws: identity, non-contradiction, and excluded middle. So whatever metaphysical framework, whatever model of reality you adopt, it is either going to be the God worldview, because God is a metaphysical framework, the creator-creation distinction, or it's going to be the denial of that, the not God worldview. There is no middle ground to be had with respect to this issue.
Well, I would hold that a position of curiosity is just fundamentally different than a propositional position based on faith. It's just different.
I don't even understand how that's relevant to what we're talking about here. Do you accept that everyone is operating when
Well,
they're invoking facts? They're
part
operating
of
in the
what you're
basis of a
trying,
metaphysics?
yeah, what I understand you saying, Robin, is I have to pick a worldview, that I don't have an option to exist in the world as a curious person who allows a worldview to emerge based on probing the universe and seeing how it responds. Like I have to accept some pre-designated worldview that was written by an old white man. Like maybe I don't have to live in such a worldview. Maybe I
Well,
can just
you'd be putting
move
the
through the
cart before the
world with
horse.
curiosity.
You're putting the cart before the horse here, okay? Because in order for your observation of certain facts, Mr. Mute your mic, please. Here, I'll mute you. I'll mute you. Just give me 1 second. There you go. All right. In order for you to say that you're observing facts and you're coming to conclusions about things, all of that's only meaningful. Okay, Mister, mute your mic. Okay,
I removed him from the room because he unmuted his mic and he continued to have background sounds.
yeah. The only way your facts can be meaningful, because they're not independent than absolute in and of themselves. They're only going to be meaningful in virtue of a metaphysical context it exists within. Okay, so you're going
Not
to be
okay.
affirming a metaphysical framework, whether you like it or
Well,
not.
what you're
Speaking meaningfully
suggesting
about the
is
world.
that 5 different metaphysical frameworks could give facts meaning, but if you're transitioning between them, or if you're in the space between those frameworks, the same facts have no meaning. Like, I
Benjamin, just listen and focus to what I'm telling you.
There's only. Can I jump in?
Yeah.
There's only two primary metaphysical scenarios. Okay, either there were facts that you invoke explicitly or implicitly will reside within the context of God as supreme being, as creator, or without. Okay? And that is per the law of excluded middle. Now, within those two categories, you can have subcategories, or as I like to say, flavors. Okay? So that when you or I or J. Robin or Tonlock invoke facts, those facts will always presuppose the context of God or without God. Are we clear?
yes. So I can follow you on this one, right? There is
Do you
either a
accept
God
that
or
as
a not
true?
God.
No. Yeah, I agree with that. But
Yeah,
what I'm
and
saying to you, okay,
frameworks from
right? So,
each.
so when
Yes,
we talk
no problem.
about God or not God, we're not just talking about an entity. What we're talking about is a context. So I got to step out again. Sorry.
So there's also a framework in which there's a pink unicorn that from which all facts descend, and a framework from which there's not a pink unicorn, from which all
Okay.
facts descend. And
Yeah.
these
If we're
are
talking about anything in
same
the
laws
That,
apply.
that,
metaphysical, listen.
that's a
Every
category error.
yeah,
Period.
Not
yeah.
really.
No,
It's the same proposition.
unicorns are contingent things. Okay, but whatever you're going to classify as that which is in the category of a metaphysical framework, your metaphysical reality, then nobody's neutral towards that. Okay, so even if you did decide that you wanted to say that the rock on the side of the road is metaphysically primary, okay, that wouldn't be
Yeah.
intelligible for one, okay, because the rock is contingent, right? But putting that aside, then no, you're not neutral towards that. I would deny the proposition. I'm not agnostic towards the proposition that the rock is ultimate.
Now, see,
I have an active
this is an
denial of
interesting
that proposition.
conversation,
So
and it has
listen
some
here,
nuance.
Benjamin. Listen. There is one of two positions here. Okay, either the facts that you're going to assert they're going to exist with God as that which is metaphysically primary, the ultimate context that they are derived from,
Yeah.
or
Okay.
not. Okay,
Well, do they
so
not
the only two
exist,
options.
or do they not exist with God, or do they exist with God, but He's not the primary
No,
context? Like, where does the
either
no
the
fit in
facts
there?
exist, either the facts that you're going to assert because you're asserting them with reference to this context, or not. Okay, either the facts that you assert are going to exist uh, because and only because of God is that which is metaphysically primary, or they're going to exist without God as that which is metaphysically primary. Those are the only two
Okay, so
options.
the facts still exist. It's just God is primary or God is not primary. And that's the law of non-excluded middles. We have to pick one, right?
Yeah, when you're asserting facts, you're asserting them as though they're actual. Whether or not they're actual with respect
Yeah,
to your
yeah.
worldview and intelligible is
So
another
I
question. But
don't
you're
see any basis on which to make this decision. Just as I see no basis on which to claim that everything descends
okay.
from a pink
Then
unicorn. Like,
you're
there's
not invoking
no
facts.
information.
Then you're not invoking facts because you're not invoking a metaphysical context within which the facts will be held. So you're not
Well, I
speaking
think
meaningfully about them.
therefore I am, right? So a little bit Cartesian there.
No. Well,
It
that
seems to me
statement
that I
only makes
exist.
yeah, that statement it's not even that's not a simple predication. Okay, predication itself, okay, is not a simple thing. There are many things that are metaphysical in nature, okay, that need to be affirmed in order for that statement to even be meaningful. Like there's identity, right? That there's identity over time. Okay, that there's continuity. All of these things
Yeah.
are metaphysical questions that need to be answered before you can say that I and think and I am and that there is a therefore and that things are entailed by other things. All of that is going to be existent within a metaphysical framework.
That's fine, but the
Those are
primacy
not
of my
standalone
metaphysical
facts.
framework starts from this concept that I think, right? And I work from there.
No, no,
That's
no.
what
Here's
I
the
know.
problem with what you're
That's
talking
what I know
about.
most deeply.
Here's the problem with what you're talking about. How do you know when you invoke the I that
I
the
have to
I
go.
you're
I'll be right back.
speaking that the I you're speaking of now is the same I that existed 10 seconds ago?
I don't even presume that it is. I'm a dynamic individual.
Oh,
I
you
get
don't
into a
presume that
car
it is.
accident.
So saying I think means you don't. You're not even talking about the same person because he was telling you about identity over time. So when you invoke I, you just proved yourself that saying I is not even intelligible because you're not even talking about the same person.
Intelligible. Well, I mean, it's the same person, but the brain can be destroyed. Like the
No, no,
objects
no,
are
no.
dead.
Don't
They're
no.
not
You
the
just
same person.
contradicted yourself. You just said you don't know that it's the same person. Now you're saying it is the same person. You see how you just contradicted yourself?
Um, I understand you think that it's a contradiction. I just think
No,
it's
that is a
it's a
contradiction. Saying you
susceptibility, right?
don't know,
It's a
and then,
potentiality.
sir, stop. Saying you don't know, and then saying that it is the same person is a hell contradiction.
And what I said is this is the thing I know best, right?
Did you
And the
contradict
fact
yourself?
that
Don't lie. Did you contradict yourself?
well, it's not about lying. It's
Did
about
you contradict
understanding.
yourself? Yes or no?
I'm just not even going to respond to that
Did
question.
you contradict?
That's
Yeah,
if
get the
that's the
hell out
hill
of here.
if that's the hill you want to die on,
Yeah,
go ahead.
get the hell out of here, dude. See, this is the problem, man. When these people start just making up crap, when they obviously contradicted themselves, and you don't want to deal with the fact that you completely contradicted yourself, I'm just done talking to you.
Has J Robin left, or is he going to be back?
He might be back.
Well, I'm happy
It's
to
obvious
step.
he contradicted himself. And he didn't want to admit to the simplest thing. See, when you don't want to engage in good faith and just be humble about where you messed up, there's no point in talking to you any further.
Well, I'm happy to step up and hopefully not contradict myself.
Okay, so you're an atheist?
Yes.
Okay, can you explain to us why there are no gods?
Yeah, because a necessary mind contains a contradiction. Contradictions are impossible, and impossible things by definition can't exist.
Okay, when you talk about a necessary mind telling a contradiction, you're talking about P and not P.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What makes anything
So,
impossible?
What makes anything impossible? I don't think anything
What is?
makes anything impossible,
Oh,
because
okay.
that thing
Then
would
not.
first have to be possible.
Listen to me. Why is anything impossible?
I don't think that question makes sense.
Yeah, dude, we're not playing this little game here. Okay.
Well,
We have
why?
different. We listen. Do not overtalk me. Now you sound very familiar. Have I interacted with you on Discord?
Yeah, but I'm not here to interact with you, Darth.
What is you? Okay, you can fuck off. Okay. Oh, it's you. Are you Alex the owl guy?
Yeah.
Okay, get out of here, you troll. All right.
Cry baby.
Yeah,
Cry
yeah.
baby.
Now, this is what we're dealing with. We are dealing with grown men who act like defiant ADD teenagers who didn't take their morning drugs, their Ritalin. This is what we're dealing with. He said, a necessary mind is somehow of a contradiction, and contradictions are impossible. So why is anything impossible? Did he have an answer for that, folks? Did somebody
no, he
please
did.
speak? Did somebody please speak up? Did I miss that? Did he explain to us why any particular state of affairs is impossible?
No, he didn't.
No. Now, when you reject the idea that God is the first principle, that God is metaphysically first, metaphysically primary, God is ultimate, I'm using different ways of trying to conceptualize God from different angles here, but to represent the same idea, where God is the absolute from which all things derive and depend. Okay? So, God being in the category of what is ultimate, right? That means that everything that is, can be, or cannot be derived from him. Now, if you choose not to believe in God, and you say, well, God being a necessary mind, whatever that means, and that it somehow is a contradiction, and therefore contradiction is impossible. What then makes anything impossible? Well, the answer is when I asked the question, he went into troll mode as usual. This is what they do. It never ceases to amaze me how pathologically deceptive these people are. It never fails. They want to step up to the plate and pretend that they're intellectual players, but they're not. They're like eighth graders at the cafeteria table pretending they're sophisticated philosophical debaters, and they're not. I would rather not have to trash talk these people, but they make it so painstakingly obvious. What happened to the last guy?
Well, the last guy I was talking to, he flat out contradicted himself because he tried to employ the cogito, and then I asked him, "How do you know the I that you're invoking is the same I that existed 10 seconds ago?" He
Yeah.
says, "Well, I don't know that." And then when I
Okay,
pressed
then
him,
there's
hold on.
yeah. Go
And then
ahead.
when I pressed him further, he said, "Well, it is the same." So he contradicts himself, and then he didn't want to admit to the fact that he contradicted himself, so he didn't engage in good faith, so I removed him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, well, you can't like just be humble about it's something simple, man. You obviously contradicted yourself, so you can just show some humility, be a good faith interlocutor, and just admit it, and we can move on. But he didn't even want to admit it. He was like, "I'm just not going to answer the question," and then you're gone. It's that
Well,
simple.
this is what they do. Okay, they'll start off pretending to be adult, and then it doesn't take them long before they're just outright bickering with you. This is true of the overwhelming majority of atheists that we observe and encounter. All right. Now, they won't deploy this tactic if they're dealing with somebody who they think does not pose a philosophical, theological, or intellectual challenge. They'll remain polite and cordial. Like, for example, Jeff here in the audience. This is a tactic that he deploys. He'll pretend to be polite and cordial and practice his snake epistemology, right? But the moment he starts being asked precise philosophical questions that he's uncomfortable in answering, he bickers. Now, Jeff, if you'd like to correct my characterization of your repeated conduct, you're welcome to come up and defend yourself uninterrupted. But my guess is that you won't. Come on up, Daniel.
They deploy these sorts of tactics in rooms like this, but they wouldn't deploy them in places to where there are real consequences for them lying and being deceptive.
No,
They
no.
wouldn't do this crap in a courtroom under oath or something like that.
If they were taking a college course and they really desired a good grade, they wouldn't deploy these tactics in front of the professor who'd be grading them. Right? Okay, so the guy who raised his hand didn't. Okay? See, the atheists don't like the fact that I don't take their crap. I stand up for myself, right? I'm not trying to win friends here. Okay? I'm confronting you with the incoherence of your own position, which is a denial of the revelation and self-disclosure of God himself, which you know is indicative that you are under his wrath. And you know it. And you're playing a little game, right?
What
The
is that
sad
pick
thing.
of yours, dude? I'm
What's
sorry, go
that?
ahead and finish.
No, go ahead, Tomlin.
I'm just curious. Hear the people's voice. What is that pick of yours? Jesus is Muslim?
Oh yeah, hey, how y'all doing? Thanks for recognizing. Yeah, he is. That's. I'm glad
Yeah,
you.
dude, that is patently absurd. Okay.
All right.
Jesus Christ proclaimed that he was the Son of the living God. Okay?
Oh, he
He
did.
claimed he did. Now, if you, like a typical Muslim, want to claim that he didn't, I'm prepared to discuss that with you. Are you a Muslim?
Well, before you ask a question
Are
like that,
you a Muslim?
wow, you're really excited.
No, you know what? You know what? Let me just tell you something. Let me tell you a little bit about me. I've been doing this for 10, 12 years, okay? And I am fed up with all the bullshit that when I ask a simple question, I get complete evasiveness. I am more than willing for you to staunchly disagree with me on a whole range of issues. I welcome this. This provides an opportunity for vigorous adult debate. But if you're going to engage in the same evasive bullshit that people do, I'm going to raise my voice when you're being deceptive. And if you continue to dodge without further notice, I will kick you off the stage. Now, we're going to go back again. Are you a Muslim?
You seem a little upset. Yes, I'm a
All
Muslim.
right. No, you know what? You're done. You're done.
Yeah,
You're going to behave this way.
I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah. We're not. Yeah. We're not here to deal with people who are immature here, who want to behave like you're, as I always say, as I'm well known for saying, bickering like you're at the cafeteria table. You're going to act like a jerk. You're going to be kicked off really quick. Okay. I'm not having people waste my time.
Couldn't even answer if he was a Muslim or not.
Yeah. Hey, John Lee. You say Jeff. Is John Lee still here?
He's
Yeah,
still
come
here.
on up. Come on up, John.
Let me bring him up.
Yeah, when you say he's affable, he turns it on and off when it suits him. When he's dealing with various people, especially people who are biblical presuppositionalists, he very quickly becomes belligerent and bickers. So where's this crap that he's an affable person, right?
Yeah, I think he's affable if you're not asking him questions. When I do ask him questions, he becomes very hostile. He rage quit. I
Then
started
why
being
are
very
then why are you
accusational. He quit three
then why are
times.
you posting that he's an affable person? Because you see, that's a little shtick performance that he does with some people. So why are you saying he's affable? He's not. This is just a sometimes performance that he does.
So you're saying it's some sort of a fake friendliness?
No, this is not across the board characteristic of him. He only does that with some people as when he wants to practice his snake epistemology to fool them, right?
No, I would say street epistemology aside, I can talk to him just about just things, music, for example, just whatever.
That's not what we're talking about. Get off my stage. You're such a clown.
Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether we have unbelievers in rooms like this or if we have unbelievers or we go into their rooms. It's always the same nonsense no matter what. We'll go into their rooms and discuss things or try to discuss
Yeah.
things. It's not like we're just sitting here, oh, you guys got the mods, you guys got the mods.
Yeah.
These people thrive on having mods and control. This is what these
Yeah.
people are about.
For example, every time I've encountered Steve Appel, Mr. Ask an Atheist, every single time he's evasive, right? And he's super evasive on steroids when he controls the parameters of the room. But he's less evasive, but still evasive when he doesn't have mods, right? This is what they do. One of their prime directive is to preserve their presupposed mental autonomy as opposed to acknowledging the autonomy of God as creator at all costs. And that even includes lying, evading, dodging, okay, baiting and switching. This is what they do. All right, I got to step away. I'll be back.
I think we've seen exactly what this title shows. When atheists want to come up here and they don't want to answer simple questions, and then they don't want to engage in good faith, This is exactly what happens in the vast majority of conversations with Darth Dawkins, Matt Yester here, myself, brother Matt in here, Matt Adams, the other Matt, and many other Christians that talk to these atheists all the time. We get people who, and we have a wide variety of personalities and demeanors. Some of us are more reserved than others. Some of us are a bit more aggressive than others. But it's almost always the same result, no matter what the disposition or demeanor is. That tells you one thing. It tells you that they just simply don't like their worldview being critically critiqued and demolished for the fallaciousness and the untruthfulness that it is. So what it comes down to is the atheists know that they don't have an answer for the fallacious nature of their worldview. That's the truth. Atheists
Yesterday,
cannot defend at all that there are no gods, and they know they can't do it. So they got to resort to all these other side tactics. You're gonna say
yesterday I
something, Matt?
opened up a room. Yeah, I opened up a room yesterday morning early called "Can the Not God Worldview Survive the Socratic Method?" And we were able to practice this Socratic method, which I'm no expert in street epistemology, but we were able to do that in that room. And based on some of the answers that I saw from atheists, I could see some huge problems in their worldviews. Now, unfortunately, I had to leave, and I think I don't know what happened after that. I know Darth was trying to come in, but someone had him blocked. I think he was able to come in, but I think I don't know what happened after that. But I think when the thing is when the atheist and not God worldview gets put under the microscope, it's very easy to find inconsistencies in their standards. And I think that's what the good thing about what you guys do here, your approach can point that out just by the one question: why is it that there is no God? But you can have several different approaches that can point out other issues throughout their whole worldview that are hugely problematic as well.
Indeed. Mr. Jeff Trimble, did you have a question for us?
But I heard my name, so I thought it'd come up.
Well, I didn't specifically mention your name. I just saw your hand raised.
Yeah, Darth mentioned me by name, and John was up talking about me as well.
Okay. Well, whatever question you have, you can ask them because I didn't mention you.
I think Darth had invited Jeff back if he wanted to come back and I guess answer the question of the room: why is it there is no God? Um, but I'm not. I don't think Jeff was there whenever he invited him up or told him he could come up.
Well,
And he said
I
he
was
would
there.
give him a chance to. He called it snake epistemology or something, and said he'd give you a chance to correct his viewpoints on it.
Yeah, I was. I'm like I said, I'm in the grocery store and I'm shopping. So, but yeah, I'll answer anybody's questions that they want to ask me. Sure.
You're gonna be able to do that and talk at this. I mean, and shop at the same time.
Yeah, I can multitask like that. I'm able to walk around and look at a list and talk to you guys.
Okay, so here's my question for you: if a God did exist, what would you expect to see from such a God for there to be evidence of said entity?
What would I need to see? Are we specifically talking about the Christian God or just any God?
Well, any God, period.
If like everybody were to see this God were to appear, or everybody had the exact same dream one night, or if some miraculous thing that everybody could agree must be this God, then um, yeah, I'd probably believe in that God.
So, in other words, your criterion is everyone has to agree on the criterion for it to be evidence for you.
No, 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 not everyone has to agree. You asked me, what, that's one of the things that would probably convince me that there was a God. There's probably some other things too. I don't know. I could maybe think of some things. If I were to see a miracle happen, right, somebody's arm was to grow back after, someone prayed for them, or if a paraplegic was healed, or, something like that through prayer or something, then I would certainly maybe think there's something to it for sure.
And for the ones you've mentioned right there, so natural explanations are not more plausible in those scenarios.
I'm not sure what the question is. I'm sorry.
Okay, you were mentioning like amputees, limbs growing back, and then you mentioned paraplegics being healed. I'm asking you, in scenarios like that, naturalistic explanations, not miracles, are not infinitely more plausible in your view?
Well, I've never heard of a paraplegic being healed or a limb growing back, so I don't think there's naturalistic or supernatural explanations for either of those things.
Okay, so if such a phenomena happened, why would you nail that down to a miracle?
I'm not sure that I would. I mean, maybe we'll advance in science someday where we can figure out how to medically regenerate an amputated arm, or paraplegics. But, if there was no scientific evidence, and people, somebody walked up and laid hands on a person, and, they had their arm chopped off, and, they prayed in Jesus' name and their arm grew back, and it was documented, then yeah, I would definitely want to know what was going on there for sure. Yeah.
There was a paraplegic healed in the Bible.
Well, that's fine, but for myself, I don't have, I don't believe the Bible is true or anything that I should base my life on. So, I don't care what the Bible says.
So what makes you think that you would care what anybody else says if a paraplegic was healed?
Yeah, that could have been just coincidence for all you know. People could have set that up for all you know.
Yeah, I said if it was witnessed and there was proof, like maybe it was filmed in a laboratory, and medical doctors had X-rays before and after the amputation, and then after where it grew back. Yeah, all those things would be evidence that would convince me.
Well, couldn't you just say that that
So,
was evidence of evolution? I mean, we do see in nature
yeah.
lizards losing their tail and they regenerate their tail, or starfish breaking off a limb and it regenerating. So, would you not just say, well, that's just the evolutionary process and it looks like we're evolving to be able to regenerate our own limbs?
No, I wouldn't say that.
And why would you rule that out?
Again, I would look to scientists, and I would look to them to analyze what's going on, and before and after pictures, like the doctor that was the physician of this person prior, and they had good X-rays, and their arm was gone, and I would look
Yeah.
to science to try to figure out what's happened. And if science were to say we don't know why, but this person's arm regrew, uh, it looks like maybe it was a miracle or something, then maybe I'd listen. But if they said hey, his arm regrew because of this strange genetic anomaly, this guy, I don't know. I, the
There are
evidence would be
many
out.
questions. There are many questions that science cannot answer right now. But I would assume from your frame of reference that doesn't mean that God did it, right?
That's right. But if someone laid hands on a person and they've been an amputee for a long time, and that arm just spontaneously grew right there as that person prayed for them, then I would say there's probably some causal effect that I would want to investigate.
Okay, and what could you possibly investigate there that would necessarily rule out a naturalistic explanation?
What could I investigate that would rule out a naturalistic explanation? Well, I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, how can I rule out a naturalistic? Again, I guess it would just take um, people looking at it and figuring out what happened. I mean, I'm not a scientist. I don't know anything about that kind of stuff, but it would definitely be something that would wow me, and I'd go, "Ooh, maybe what's this person laid their hands on this person and prayed for this person, and they regrew
But
their arm, or so
but
it seems." You know.
scientists don't have the answers to a lot of questions. Many scientists don't have the answers to how black holes and things like that work. They got theories or hypotheses and things like that, but they don't really know how
Yeah.
they actually work.
Yeah.
But that
Okay.
doesn't
So the,
mean, from your frame of reference, that a God's behind it just because they don't have an answer.
yeah, I agree. I said, I wouldn't just immediately go that there's a God, and I wouldn't just immediately assume that that's what happened, and I wouldn't immediately assume it's some kind of genetic mutation. I would want to hear what people say. I mean, investigate it and look at the facts. But again, if had credible evidence that a faith healer or somebody laid their hands on a person and it's in a controlled environment and their limb grew back, then certainly I would want to investigate if, in fact, there was a causal relationship there, and find out what happened. And I would not rule out the supernatural. I would try to be neutral and consider that it could be something supernatural. And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. But it'd be an amazing thing. I mean, it would be something that would want me to investigate the God claim more.
So you can investigate God claim more right now without having to have such an experience. You don't need to have
Uh,
that to start investigating the God claim more, do you?
no, I said it would make me want to do it more. I feel like I've probably pretty much devoted my life to investigating the God claim, and came up short as the reasons why I should believe in Him. But so I mean, your invitation to investigate
Is
it more, I appreciate it. But yeah,
I'm asking you, is something like that required for you to invest the God claim and to investigate the God claim more? Is that
um,
required?
yeah, at this point, I'm going to have some extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. It would have to be some extraordinary evidence that would probably pique me to really seriously investigate, a God claim again. It would have to be some serious evidence.
Well, what one says is extraordinary, another one doesn't necessarily think so. That's subjective as heck. Now, I'm going to give you a simple example. There was a All you really need is sufficient evidence, not so much whether you think it is or isn't extraordinary. There was a story a long time ago. Well, it wasn't a super long time ago, but it was long enough. There was these brothers that used to wash windows, and the scaffold they were on had collapsed, and they both fell like what 40, 50 some stories to the ground. One of them survived and the other one did not. Now, there was a news story about that. As far as we know, there was no camera footage or anything like that. But there was a news story that was released about it, about the surviving brother. Now, let me ask you a question. Would you, without having any camera footage or anything like that, would you believe that the dude saying that he did survive was telling the truth? They had no parachutes or anything like that.
Are you asking me what I believe that he fell, or what I believe? I'm not sure what the
Would you
question
believe
is.
that he would you believe that he fell 40, 50 some stories to the ground and survived?
Oh, I'm sure there's anomalies like that could happen. I mean, I'm certain that you could fall in such a way, or things happen where you could survive. So I've heard of people jumping
Is,
out of airplanes and their chute didn't open up and they survived. So yeah,
is, is that
it,
an
it might be
extraordinary
rare, but
claim?
Not necessarily, because again, I know that I've heard of people jumping out of airplanes and their parachute didn't open and they live. So yeah,
So it's
it may
not an
be
extraordinary
that
claim
that well, hang
to
on. Yeah.
fall. Hold on. So it's not an extraordinary claim to fall over 40 something stories with no parachute and survive.
It may be the fact that percentage-wise, it's a very rare occurrence, but there's plenty of cases where it has happened, and I don't think it defies the odds. So it may be rare, but I wouldn't call it extraordinary. No.
Oh, it does defy the odds. Quite clearly, it does. Many people don't survive 20-story drops, let
And
alone
I agree with that.
40-story drops.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It is against the odds. I would agree. Yeah.
It
It's just
seems like
very
you're being a bit dishonest here when you don't call that an extraordinary claim.
Well, well, if I have other examples, that are literal examples, and we can look to these examples and say people have fallen out of airplane or jumped out of airplanes or shoot getting open and they live, and we have these stories, then that's not extraordinary by definition. That is rare, and it's but
What do
it's
you mean
not
by definition? As if there's some objective definition of what is or isn't extraordinary.
Well, I suppose extraordinary would be something that would happen that maybe you would couldn't. Uh, you wouldn't expect to happen, even mathematically or numerically or by chance. That something
You
extraordinary would
wouldn't
be like
expect
like
for
an arm
people to
growing back.
survive a 40-story plus drop without a parachute. Survivability isn't mathematically plausible at all, dude.
Well, I've just given you examples where people have fallen from airplanes, and you gave me the example of the person from the scaffolding, and
Yeah,
and there's multiple examples
and
of
neither
people
one
who have.
is mathematically plausible.
Well, it must be mathematically plausible because it happened.
I
So
said
therefore it.
plausible, dude. I didn't say possible. I
Uh,
said plausible.
well, it must be mathematically plausible because it happened.
No, it's not mathematically plausible because the vast
Do you know?
majority of people falling from such heights die without
Do you know what?
parachutes,
Do you know
dude.
what? Do you know what plausible means?
Plausible means very likely to happen in
No,
all
that's
things
not true.
being. Yes, it
That's not
does.
plausible
It
means.
literally, it
You want
literally
to look
do.
up the
I'll look it
look
up
up the
right
definition.
now.
Yeah,
Plausible means very like. Okay, I'm looking it up right now, dude. Hold on.
okay, plausible means that it
It
could
says
happen,
it's
and
an
you
argument, sir.
and you
I'm reading it right now. It says seemingly reasonable or probable. That is literally no different than what I just said to you.
seemingly
It's
reasonable or probable. That's that. So plausible
probable,
means that
meaning
it is
very
probable.
likely. Meaning very
Right.
likely. That's no different than what the hell I just said to you. You're just quibbling
You
over
said it.
freaking semantics now.
You said it was mathematically, not probable, and I'm saying that by definition it is.
How many people do you think? Do you think like it's going to be 50% of people falling from 40-story heights with no parachute surviving? You think it's going to be 50%? 60, 70?
I would say it might be only 1 or 2%, but that still makes it
That's
plausible because we have a 1 or 2% that did
no, that's
actually
literally
survive.
implausible because most people don't survive.
If something happened, are you telling me that something happened? This person fell from the scaffolding, or a person fell from an airplane without a parachute, and they lived. That it's not plausible that they lived. That's not.
Dude,
That's what
implausible
you're
just
saying.
mean implausible means it's unlikely. Plausible means it's
That's not. That's
likely.
you just read it. Yeah. So
Yeah,
likely.
probable meaning likely.
I have a few
So
questions for you,
That's what
gentlemen,
I'm
if I
saying,
may.
dude. Hold on, Christina. See, you're bickering over just stuff that is totally uncontroversial.
yeah,
This is
yeah. I'm not
ridiculous that you're
bickering over
bickering
any. I'm
over
not bickering.
this. No, you're
I'm
trying to
sorry that
say
you.
you're
I'm.
trying to say
I'm.
you know what, I'm not
I'm
going to
sorry.
deal with this.
I'm sorry you don't understand what plausible means. That's not my problem.
Yeah, yeah, you're an idiot, Jeff. What a moron. This is absolutely absurd. Now I'm arguing over something that's literally no different than what I said. Plausible meaning likely or probable. More likely to be the case versus not. I mean, this is ridiculous. Go ahead, Christina.
Uh, for what it's worth, in one sentence you did say something was plausible, in the next sentence you said it wasn't. But that's neither here nor there. My question
What? Hold
was, while
on.
you were
Wait,
going
wait,
through,
wait, wait, wait. You're saying I said two contradictory statements. What were
you
they?
did. You were. I don't remember the exact wording of it, but you were saying in one case that something was plausible, and then in the very next sentence you were arguing with Jeff that it wasn't plausible. But again,
No,
that's
I
not what
was
goes.
saying. No, okay,
You just
I
said you
didn't.
didn't want to have this argument.
Hold
My
on. Stop.
question has
Stop.
nothing
Stop.
to do
Stop.
with that.
Stop. Stop.
Okay, never
Stop.
mind.
Stop.
You're
Stop.
not
Stop.
interested in having a
Stop.
conversation.
Stop. Stop. I didn't. Okay. Yes. You see, when I was going to challenge her on what the contradictory statement was, she didn't want to answer the question, and then she leaves like a coward. This is exactly what these people do. We call them up to actually substantiate what they say. They
Hey,
just
Tom,
run.
have you ever accepted any wrong in your
Okay,
life ever?
okay.
No, let's have a
I'm
conversation.
not gonna come up here and have you do this little
Don't cry
psychoanalysis
about it. Either
critique.
have a men's
Yeah,
conversation
yeah.
or
Get the hell
not.
out of here. You're
Oh,
gone.
baby.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, there's another one. See, this is what atheists do time and time again. They just want to come up here, do the stupid psychoanalysis. They don't want to have actual adult conversations. They just want to do this little shtick over and over and over again. I'm going to try this one more time with you, Jeff. If I got to argue with you about stuff that's entirely uncontroversial, then I'm not going to have this conversation continue on any further from here.
Okay.
So the point is this. So the point is you proved exactly what I said. You proved that what people think is subjective because I don't think most people in their rational mind will say some nonsense like it's very plausible for someone to drop that high without a parachute and survive. Most people won't even say that. But the point is this: even with you disagreeing, you still had your own subjective notion of something extraordinary. So the point that I was suggesting was actually proven by your very disagreement. People are going to have different views of what's extraordinary and what's not. So when you say extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, that is a very subjective criterion.
So yeah. Hang on one second. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back with
And
you. Okay. I'll be
all right,
right back. Hang on 1 second. I'm sorry.
whatever else he was disagreeing with me about, he certainly can't dispute that much. Although there is no necessarily objective standard of what is or isn't extraordinary, I think when you look at the plausibility versus implausibility of something, that's going to, in most people's minds, adjudicate something in terms of what they would see more or less extraordinary. Like
See,
there's a difference between me saying I have a $1 bill in my pocket versus me saying that I woke up with $10 billion in my bank account. Okay,
let me ask you.
people are not gonna evaluate those claims the same
Okay.
way.
Let me ask you this: if I were to take a quarter out of my pocket and I flipped it uh, 10 times and it landed on heads every time, would that be plausible?
Every time, no.
Yeah. You don't you don't think that anybody's ever flipped a quarter 10 times and it landed
Okay,
on
let
the
me
same
put it
side
this
ten
way.
times 10 times in a row?
Let me put it this way. Let me put it within a very within like lower trials. It's more plausible than, let's say, 100 coin flips in a row or 1,000 coin flips in a row. Then the more coin flips you have, it exponentially gets more implausible. It
So let me
exponentially
let,
gets more
let me ask you this:
improbable.
Okay, if I flip a coin 10 times and it comes up heads each time, and I'm going to flip it the 11th time, what are the odds that it'll come up either heads or tails?
Well, the odds in any single coin flip is 50-50. The odds that it comes
That's
up heads or
exactly right.
tails,
That's
the
exactly right.
odds
So,
are hold on. I wasn't done talking. The odds that it comes up heads or tails 10 times in a row is a lot less likely
it's
than
less
it just
likely, but
simply
it is
coming
plausible. It's less likely, but it is plausible. There would be an explanation. You flip the
when
coin 10 times, though it's unlikely
it's
that you
not
have.
plausible that it comes up heads 10
Well,
times in a row.
well, I guess you and I are just going to have to disagree about the definition of
Is
plausible.
it is it is it is it
It,
is it
Plausible
because
in this sense is
plausible,
just being used synonymous as likely to happen.
exactly?
and that's not what plausible means. Plausible means that I can have an explanation, right? That there is
I
there's
read you the
a
definition.
reasonable.
No,
Probable,
It's
no.
dude.
Plausible is just it's means seemingly reasonable or probable.
It's a
right,
synonym for probable.
and
It's
so
literally a synonym.
so irrespective of
So
the
if you
probability, if it's even a 1% chance of something happening, that is still plausible.
you're using probable in the same sense as possible.
Yes. Yeah,
No,
you're using them in totally synonymous senses, and that's not the way that plausibility is used at all.
Um, yeah, I would disagree because when you do probability studies, which I actually had done in my career, that you look for things to happen. Is it plausible? Yeah, this could happen, and you prepare for it, and you plan for it, and you try to make contingent plans ahead of time to mitigate that if it happens. And it could be very low, but like in the systems we work with, some of the things are health and safety and could actually kill someone. And
No,
so we look at
Yeah, a low
we
plausibility would just be implausible.
no, we plan for low, like we have a low probability that someone's going to do something that's going to electrocute them, but it is plausible that they could do that, so we plan for it, and
You're
we put
using
things.
plausible in the same sense as possible.
Yeah, because they kind of plausible means it has, and that you can give it an
there's
explanation.
a definition again.
You can explain it.
Implausible, not seemingly reasonable or probable.
Yeah. Okay. Irrespective.
Then something.
Let's
No,
move
it's
on.
not
Move on from. Yeah, let's move
stop,
on from the plausible. What's the question? What's your question
No,
for
no,
me?
I just read the definition to you, and you're bickering
Okay. What's your
over
question
what
for me?
you're bickering over us saying something that's consistent with the definition we read
Okay.
to you.
What's your question for me?
Why are you bickering over something uncontroversial,
I'm
Jay?
not bickering. What's your question for me?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Do you
Were
have a
you?
question for
Did
me?
you just hold on? Hold on. Did you
If you
just
don't
hear
have
the
if you don't
definition I
have a
read to
question,
you? Did
yeah,
you just hear the definition I read to you?
yeah, and I agree with it. Yep.
Okay. Did it contradict anything AJ and I said?
Yes.
Okay. Is not okay, I'll read it again. So implausible, not seemingly reasonable or probable. Is implausibility the same as improbability?
Is that a question for me?
Is implausibility synonymous with improbability?
I don't know. I'd have to look up the specific definitions, but to me, they're very closely related. And just
It
because
says
something,
not probable, meaning improbable. It's the same freaking thing.
okay, then I would agree they're synonyms. Yep. And just because something is improbable doesn't mean it can't happen. I.e., the guy falling with a parachute without a parachute, right?
Okay,
By
dude.
definition, it's possible, right? By definition, because it happened. So therefore, it must be, though
We
it's
already
probability, it did
he
happen.
Yeah,
already told
it's
you that
possible but not probable, meaning just it's just
yeah,
not likely to happen.
Yeah, and I agree with
definitionally
that.
speaking.
I agree with that.
So you're just agreeing with something we said from the very beginning. So all you're just arguing with something we said from the very beginning was just pointless. I don't understand why you're doing this. This is what happens when we deal with atheists all the time. They just start arguing over uncontroversial stuff. So, once again, is it plausible for somebody to fall from 40 plus stories without a parachute and survive?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we're done here. Yeah. If I have to continually argue over stuff that's so uncontroversial, the conversation's over. The Bible makes it very clear for us
Who's
not to waste time with people like this. We don't answer a fool
yeah,
according to their folly.
who's
You're roboting, dude. You gotta fix your signal or something, man. You're roboting.
am I audible now?
Yeah, give me 1 second, man. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. What's good, Shay, dude?
Hi, who's GD?
Darth Dawkins. Are you familiar with Darth
Oh,
Dawkins?
the old one.
Yes, the old one.
Oh boy, I don't hate him, but I don't like him in particular either. He just gives an introduction where he says that, he's so aged, so he's, very impatient, and he asks you a question, and you start to answer it, and he immediately starts yelling, saying, "Okay, okay, okay," and then he pushes you down. It's the same drill he uses, time and time again, especially when you start making good points against him.
Can you name one single good point that's made against transcendental reasoning?
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think it's Jay. There was a guy, and we were having a discussion about morality, and someone said that we have that Jesus has given us this intuition, like a moral compass, and or as if he mentioned a particular phrase like it is written on our hearts, and that's why we have this morality, or this moral feeling. And then I gave him an analogy saying that sometimes when we are kids, we just bully someone, and later in life we face the same kind of situation, or we just grow up and we just look back, and we say to ourselves like, but I think I did not treat that kid well, and that immediately tells you that we learn morality through experience too. So it's not uh, true that it's something that is given to us by this entity or something like that. And then he just came out of nowhere, and that's when that objective morality case w- got started to get weakened. And then this guy jumped in, the darth guy jumped in, and he just introduced himself to me, saying that he's so and so age, and blah blah blah. And then he asked me some question that had nothing to do with the topic that we were discussing, and I was about to answer it, and I spoke like, I think, 3 words, and that's it. He started yelling at me, and he just pushed me down.
Okay, and all that long diatribe of yours, you literally didn't answer my question. And you can't say I overtalked you. I'll let you finish. I'll let you land your plane. I asked you a simple question. Can you name me one good point that's made against transcendental reasoning? That's all I asked you.
That's not what you just asked me. That what you asked me just now was,
That is what I
when
asked you. Were you not listening?
I said all that when you asked me the question, the replays are on. You asked me, I asked you who is DD, and you asked me,
That was the first
name me
question.
one
I answered your
instance where
question.
when.
No. You asked me about Didi. I answered
No, the
that
replays are on. You
question,
can just end this room. You can
and
post it, and you can listen for
then
yourself.
stop. And then you said that you was talking about Didi kicking people down when they make good points against them, and then I asked you, can you name me one good point that's made against transcendental reasoning? And
Oh,
you
then I
just went
must have
on
missed it.
this. Yeah, that's what I asked you. Can
I've
you
heard
answer that?
what I heard was name one point. I thought you said name one point you made against Darth or something like that.
That's not what I said at all.
Yeah,
I
maybe
asked
I
you, can you
misheard it.
name me one good point made against transcendental reasoning? That's the reasoning he uses.
Transcendental reasoning. Okay, but can you explain what that is?
It's reasoning that talks about whenever we discuss this concept or this debate about worldviews, we're talking about what are the necessary preconditions for things like rationality, intelligibility, and everything else in between. And transcendental reasoning just simply states something very simple. It's that there's going to be something necessary, fundamental, ultimate, that's going to be the necessary precursor or precondition to all other facts. You got two categories of transcendentals. You got narrow transcendentals, which are like local transcendentals. Let's say the a narrow transcendental would be like this. Like let's say you take the game of chess. It's the transcendental to chess strategy, chess pieces, a chess board, and all this other stuff. You have to have chess for the precondition for all these other things chess related. But let's get more broad than that. Then you have causality. Causality itself is more broad, and it's the it's the precondition for things like chess and laws of nature, reality itself. But we're getting even more broad than that. So we're talking about
Wait. This
neurotranscendentals.
all sounds
Hold
really
on,
vague.
hold on. What's
What?
vague about saying that you need to have chess in order to have chess
No.
strategy or chess
What does this
pieces?
help explain? Can you get back to the
I'm
beginning when
giving
you said?
you an example of, dude, I'm giving you an example of narrow versus broad transcendentals. Like a
What?
transcendental just means
The
the
guy said he had no idea
precondition.
what it was, so you were just
Yeah,
clarifying what a transcendental was because he
yeah,
sounded clueless.
I'm breaking it down for you. Do you need to have the game of chess in order to have chess strategy, chess pieces, a chess board? Yes or no?
To play chess? Yes.
Yeah, that's a narrow transcendental, but we're getting more broad than that. A more broad transcendental
Or we
would be
could just say
something.
that we need a chessboard to play chess, right?
No, you need the game of chess. You need to
Yeah,
realize
you need.
the game before you have any particular instantiation of a
Yeah,
game. Things about the games
Yeah.
themselves.
Yes. Everything. Right. So keep it simple. Why invoke
But
all
one's
this?
antecedent to the other, then we're going more broad in scope. If you took away the causal principle, what are you able to do? Not
there was
much.
nothing complicated about what I said. I was just laying
Some
down
beliefs are more
context.
systematically fundamental than others. That's
No.
all
No.
we're saying.
But
Yeah.
intellectually
We're going the broadest of
speaking,
the broad, man. So
If you would
the
actually
dirt and
listen and stop talking
no,
so much and would
I've
just
listened the whole
listen.
thing. I've listened to the whole thing.
So, what was complicated about saying that chess is the precondition for chess strategy and chess pieces in the chessboard? What's complicated about that?
Yeah, nothing. But when
Thank
you
you.
say
So, if we
things
get
like
more broad, if we get stop.
yeah,
So, if we
why
get
can't we
more
just
broad than
talk in
that,
those terms instead of saying all this?
stop.
Z's want
So,
to have a conversation.
if we get more broad than that, and we talk about causality itself,
More
we're
broad
not
scope.
just talking about what is the precondition for chess. We're talking about the precondition for a variety of things.
Everything.
right?
Okay, so what does that have to do with theism and atheism?
Because
It
God
has
is
to do with
ultimate.
transcendentals. We're
That's a
talking
transcendental
about
thing.
God being the transcendental of all these transcendentals, dude.
Yes.
That
The
when we
ultimate
talk
will.
about when we employ transcendental reasoning, we're saying God is the fundamental precondition for all of them.
Yeah. As creator and sustainer of all things.
Do you understand now?
Capiche?
Yeah, so everything that is is dependent on God in some way or something like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's our worldview. Now, someone wants to stand against that, I
Yeah,
go,
that's
good.
every
Stand
theist
against it.
worldview, right? That's what pretty
We
much
reduce it to
every
Trinity.
theist says. You can just begin with that, right? Instead of saying all these
What?
things.
Begin with what? No, we do. We say, what's your, what's your Christian worldview? We lay it out. Someone says, nah, I don't think that's true. I go, good. Where are you standing when you make that claim? Show me your worldview. We'll show that you're reduced to
Yeah, but that's
absurdity.
a problem, right? But
It's called
that's a
impossibility
grand
of the
claim.
contract.
Yeah. But now my turn.
That's how you
But
prove the worldview is by the impossibility of its denial. It's transcendentally necessary. That's a transcendental proof. It's the
it looks
ultimate
more like
formula.
the other explanations.
What other explanations? Which one are you going to
sound
be
more
pointing to?
logical. The randomness of the
It's
universe. You
purely
have to take
logical.
that.
We're just dealing with the truth and its negate and
Oh,
any
no,
form
no,
of
no, it's not.
negation.
It's just a statement. There's no logic behind it.
Yeah, it is. You know what the
No, it's not.
disjunctive syllogism is? A or
That's not an
B, not B,
explanation. It's just
therefore
a
A.
statement. You're assuming.
Is that not logical? A or B, not B, therefore A. Is that logical?
No,
Show
it's
me
not.
any logic on that.
You're oversimplifying a complex topic. That's not a
No,
good
it's
way to
called the
put it.
law of bivalence. It's law of, let's go to the middle. Law of bivalence. I have two possibilities.
What I
You
like
negate
to
one,
do
the other one
is
validates
talk
it.
about logic.
So you're
What I
ignoring
don't like
logic.
to
I
do
know, bringing it
is
right up and saying,
talk about what some
how,
book says
dude,
about logic.
what did I just lay out that was illogical? You didn't usurp the logic I laid out. Show it's
Could you?
irrational.
Could you?
There's no
Just move on to the
explanation
next
there. It's
thing.
just a
Like, if you want
statement.
to stay focused on what I bring up to you, that'd be kind of nice, and you can actually critique what I actually brought up to you, not
I
squirm away
am
from it.
critiquing, and this is my statement.
You didn't
What
show
you
how it's
said,
illogical. I said
what
it's
you guys
illogical with
just
what I
said is
brought.
not an explanation. It's not an explanation to anything.
It
It's just
is.
a
The
statement
transcendental
that
ultimate
your
would be the
worldview
ultimate
says that
explanation for
everything came out of God. That's it.
the ultimate account for he's the
There's no
ultimate
explanation of
explanation.
how and why or anything.
Why not? Why not? Well,
It's
I
just a
mean, we got
single
the how. He
statement.
spoke and it stood fast. Psalm 33, Revelation 4:11.
Oh, that's just
It
something the
doesn't say
book
we haven't
says.
offered an
That doesn't
explanation. It's just
automatically
one you don't
means that he
believe
did,
in.
right?
Okay. You said we're on
You
rational
believe
proof. I'm not
so.
saying you're gonna be convinced by it because proof is different than persuasion.
Yeah,
You
and
reject
Quran says the
formal
same
proof.
too.
Pardon? You're
And
conflating
Quran
proof
says
with
the same
persuasion.
too.
I'm sorry. What?
The Quran says the same too. That doesn't mean that Allah is the
Yeah,
true one God, right?
and Allah is critiquable. We do an internal critique of Allah. So you can't be
Exactly, and
transcendental.
so is Jesus.
So if you want, I didn't see you critique the ontological Trinity. I just said we'll
What
critique
Trinity?
Allah and show He can't be the basis, but you didn't disprove the Trinity. Therefore, it stands.
But you need to prove Trinity first, right? Like, why would
By
I
what standard? By
disprove
what standard?
the
His own
teacup
self-disclosure
that
in
is
Revelation,
circling around
right?
Mars right now?
What? Yeah, we lay out our worldview and go, there it is. And then someone says, okay, prove that to me. I go, look what happens when you deny it. You lose
No,
all
if
intelligibility.
someone
Take
comes to
out
me and
prejudice.
says that there's a
Sir,
teacup orbiting Mars right now,
we're
well,
not
do
talking
you
about a
think that I
tea.
would
We're
put
not
my
talking about
efforts
a
into it?
teacup. We're not
Obviously
dealing
not,
with
right?
Russell's teacup or teapot. Come
Yeah,
on.
the burden is
And
not on me, brother.
pull a more easy to refute cliche.
It is
Like
never
a
on us.
collector.
The burden is never on an atheist. Yeah, no matter how
He
hard
has a
you try,
worldview to defend.
you
That's
can
what I
never push
said.
that burden
When
onto an
he
atheist.
denies my worldview, he's got to be standing somewhere. He can't be standing on my worldview because he denies it. So where's he standing?
He
Nowhere.
denies it because you fail to
You're not
provide
answering the
substantial
question. How
evidence.
about you answer the question I just asked? Where's he standing?
I
There's no
just
standing.
answered it. It's a very fitting answer.
Where is he
The
standing? I didn't hear
denial
did anyone hear an answer where the
the
atheist is
denial
standing?
is a response of your
Where is he
failure
standing
to provide
philosophically? He doesn't have a
substantial
worldview.
evidence for those
He doesn't
grand
believe anything about
claims.
the nature of reality. He doesn't believe anything about knowledge or ethics.
Yes, he does.
Then he's gonna be defending that. He stepped in it.
Yeah, he will defend that, but he will not defend
So it
his
doesn't have
stand
to
of
prove from his
rejecting your
worldview.
grand
So
claims
both
for your
sides
lack
have
of
to defend their
evidence.
worldviews. So both
That is your
people,
thing to
both
do, not
sides
ours.
have to defend their worldviews, dude. It's not a, oh, only one side gets to do it. I go, wait, when you
Oh my
deny the
God.
other, you got something else to defend. Get real.
Yeah, something else to defend, not this, right?
Yeah, don't be a cop-out pansy and go, well, I don't have to
No,
defend
no,
nothing.
you being a cop out pansy, the replays are on. I'm
I'm
giving you a
not.
very fitting answers.
I'll rigorously defend the Christian worldview, but you didn't ask me anything else besides that. You just said, hey, when someone denies it,
Yeah,
where's the evidence? I go, there you go,
anything
defend your
but
worldview.
evidence, anything but logic.
I just gave you bibanal structure, reductio absurdum, which well as modus tollens. Those are strictly logical forms regarding
No, they're not.
transubstantiation. Are
Let's
they not?
talk
Are they?
logic
Okay.
in general.
No, they are not.
I don't want to
Quit
talk about
spinning it up,
logic,
sir. Quit squirming
what
away
some
from it.
book
You make these
says
strong
about.
claims and then don't back them up. How's that not logical?
That's what you're doing.
How's it not logical? Bivalent disjunct, reductio absurdum on the contrary, which flows most tollens. How's
How
that
is
not
stating
logical? It's
what
strict
Bible
logic.
says?
It's strict lo-
How
It's
is
strict
stating
logic.
what Bible
The
says
structure is
any
logic.
evidence?
Dude, you can get
Logic is
this in
structure.
any logic textbook,
He
you
is not
tool.
listening. Like, is it words just bouncing off of his head,
He's
his
an
concrete
idiot.
brain? He's a complete moron. Oh, that's not logical. I go, good, how? Oh, blah, 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 blah. It's like, completely ignores the question. The guy's not paying attention.
Dude,
You
I
can.
don't fall for
Hey,
your
tool.
word
If it's not
gymnastics,
logical,
okay?
Hey,
I just said
shut,
both of these
shut
are
up, shut up.
logical structures.
I don't play
Both
your
sides.
word.
Shut. Be quiet. Be quiet. Be quiet. You can
Not to
find this in
derail.
any. You can
Well, no,
find
move
this
me
in
back
any
down to earth.
logic textbook, you tool. What he's
Yeah,
saying
any
can.
logical text.
I want to talk about logic. I don't want to talk about what
Dude,
some
quit
book
making these
says
non
about
logical
logic, okay?
claims. Get out of here, you pissant. Not having a conversation with him. He's just giving me a headache, and he's
Yeah,
just
I'm just gonna remove him from the room. He's a tool.
absolutely dodging the issue here. He's just rambling.
Yeah, he's not gonna even get the privilege of listening in here. Okay, I removed him from the room entirely.
So they're
What
spewing
a
out
moron!
illogic at 90 freaking miles an hour. Logical fallacies are just flying out there like
You were
rhetoric
saying
speed.
something that you can find in any logic textbook,
Oh,
pretty
it's
much.
Logic 101,
And
man. It's first year
and he
logic.
didn't even want to talk about that. Are you serious? What the hell is wrong with these people, man?
He's a complete moron. I've heard that guy before do this to everyone. He just rambles at 90 miles an hour, whole bunch of stuff. And if you're not paying attention, you see the stuff he throws in there, and
I'm
just doesn't
telling
have to
you.
defend. Well, that's illogical. I go, good, how? Oh, blah, 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 move on to the next thing. I'm like, wait, you still got that first claim to back up. Did you miss it, bud? Didn't
Uh,
First, he didn't understand what it was. We explained what transcendental is. Oh, yeah, I get that now.